welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host TJ, and with me, and as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grump, I've got to ask, did you have a cardiac arrest during tonight's game?
I tell you what, I thought we were going to have a nice, easy victory. And then all of a sudden, we just fall apart for a minute, couple minutes, and the game is tied. And it's like, here we go to overtime. I see Jordan Eberle make an ill-advised back pass to Mat Barzal behind him. You figure they're going to come down and score. Somehow we come back and make a play, and then Barzal wins it in shootout. Super ecstatic. Good last couple of days. I'm just going to say that.
Well, for certain, I'll tell you one thing.
Not everything is sunshine and lollipops and gumdrops in Islander land.
Never is. I will tell you, though, unbelievable night there by Sorokin. And an unbelievable game on Thursday night by Mat Barzal. Holy crap, grumpy old man. Unbelievable.
You know what the first thing I thought when I watched him score three unbelievable highlight goals, really, and 2 assists. I thought about Alexander's uncle, who wants to move him for a puck bag because it's about team. Well, let's see. We don't win that game Thursday, and we don't win today without Mat Barzal. I'll just say that.
No, and I'll tell you. One thing I also found kind of funny, grumpy old man, is that Thursday night game. It was a great game by Jordan Eberle as well as Mat Barzal. Mat Barzal, 3 goals. Jordan Eberle, 2 goals. Leo Komarov, only 1 point there on the score sheet, 1 assist. And it was a beautiful pass there by him. But it was funny. Just like you had almost predicted, you saw a massive influx of people there on social media talking about Leo Komarov is the glue on this line. He's proven everybody wrong. He's proven the haters wrong. Look at this amazing pass. Just almost as you had predicted. One moment, one flash of brilliance there from Leo Komarov, and it just says, hey, you know what? Everything Barry's doing there is right. Keep rolling them out there on the first line. I did find that funny, just like you thought would happen.
I knew it would happen because that's the glad handers, the Islanders media cartel, the Islander tabloids. They just can't wait. They think everything is beautiful. Everything is perfect. Well, I'm going to tell you what. 5 points for Barzal on that night. Was it 3 or 4? 4 points, I think, for Eberle, and 1 for Komarov. And I'm going to tell you what. The assist was a nice pass. Always give credit where credit is due. Mat Barzal created the space for that pass. He made the pass to Komarov. He's continued to drive the net. He drew the guy in the center of the ice as well as Carlson, which opened up that whole section of ice right in the middle. Beautiful pass to Eberle, who finished. That was a Mat Barzal creation from start to finish.
Well, I don't want to get too far into this because we do have the ad there to read by DraftKings, Grump. So before you get too locked and loaded and ready to go, I just want to remind you.
I'm ready to go.
Well, good. I mean, we beat the Flyers. I thought you were going to be pumped up. You were going to be doing jumping jacks, maybe some push-ups, some handstands. I didn't know what to expect from you, Grump.
I'm going to tell you something. I screamed at the television. I'm going to tell you that much.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I got a new dog. I got a dog over here today. We got a lot of things going on.
Oh, goodness. It's everybody's favorite tournament of the year, and golfers are in Augusta, Georgia to compete for the coveted jacket. And DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is putting you in the center of the action by giving you a shot to land in the green. This week, DraftKings is giving you a free shot at $1 million in top prizes when you download sign up using promo code THPN. If you haven't tried DraftKings, and this is the first time, it's easy to play. Pick 6 golfers, stay under the salary cap, and submit your lineup before the tournament tees off early Thursday morning. Then sit back and follow the action. The more red numbers they have on the leaderboard, the closer you'll be to winning some green. Rack up the points for pars, birdies, finishing positions, and more. Even though you may not be able to hit the course with the pros, DraftKings is giving you the chance to scratch your competitive itch and reign supreme. Download the DraftKings app now and use the code THPN during signup. This week, DraftKings is putting you in the action to have a free shot at $1 million in top prizes. That's code THPN. and it can give you a free shot at $1 million in top prizes only at DraftKings. Minimum of a $5 deposit is required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Grump.
Well, like I said,
you're laying far back there on that couch, man. It looks like you just got done going through the ringer, man. It looks like it's like, oh,
okay.
Like,
I'm going to tell you a story. All right.
Tell me.
I didn't sleep well. I had Friday off. Okay. I didn't sleep well Thursday into Friday. Did not sleep well. Then my son came in with the dog. He used to be a puppy. Now he's a full-blown dog. Okay. He wound up sleeping in bed with me the other night. And of course he's up early, so I'm awake. And you know how you're overtired. I'm like, I know I have a podcast tonight. I got to get some rest. I usually want to take a nap to get a little rest up when I know we're doing, especially after a Friday game, because I tell you what, I get a little worked up during the game and I kind of run out of energy a little bit. So I'm just sitting back in the chair. I was listening to you wax eloquent on, the DraftKings ad. Your delivery is so good that,
Stop trying to earn points right here now, Grump. It seems like you're trying to offload something right here. You're trying to butter me up. What's going on, Grump?
Well, you want me to get into what I'm unhappy about or what I'm happy about?
What are you unhappy about, Grump? What's making you unhappy? We've won 2 games this week. We beat the Washington Capitals 8-4, and Mat Barzal had an explosive night. And today, even though we let a little bit slip there, we brought it to overtime. We beat the Philadelphia Flyers. What are you unhappy about?
Okay. You watch the pregame broadcast on Thursday, and you hear Butch and Brendan getting their running orders from Lou and Barry and the rest of the Islanders brass. Let's make sure that we pump up Leo Komarov and say how good he's doing. So we get a long soliloquy from Butch on how, he's really settling in on the first line. They know where he is. It took a little time to gel, but now they know where he is, and they're really producing now. And then you hear, and then the intermission, or at the end of the game, when they speak with Eberle, they ask, well, what's Komarov like? And he's like, well, you know what? He's such a veteran. We know where he is. Those questions are being delivered from the organization as the talking points. And then I have to say, why are they pushing that narrative? First of all, I know they're sensitive to criticism. Absolutely, they're sensitive to criticism, and everybody's been hopping on them for the Komarov thing, right? So we know that they're sensitive to criticism. And then the grumpy old man doing a little bit of thinking here. I said, why are they pushing it so hard, though? And then I came up with a brilliant idea. The asking price for the left wings they're looking for is more than they want to give up. So what are they doing? They're telegraphing to the fans, we are not making a deal. They're not telling you why. They're not telling you that we don't want to give anything up. We're not making a deal because Leo Komarov, the guy who we put through waivers every 2 weeks, he is the answer to our first line problem. That's what they're pushing. And they did it again tonight in the pregame show.
I will tell you.
One more thing. All I know is if Leo Komarov was so freaking great, right, he's the answer to your first line problem. In the last minute, they put out Eberle, Barzal, and JG Pajot. Why? If Leo is the answer, why isn't he on the ice? He's the guy who makes the line go. He was +4. He was +4. Yeah, you know what? He was a passenger. You want to know what? When they say, yeah, we know where Leo is, he's 20 steps behind us on the ice. That's the type of stuff that drives you crazy. Stop pushing the narrative. Everybody knows what they see from this guy on the ice. And who was on the ice for the game-tying goal today? You want to know who? That's right, Kami. That's who was on there. Who else was on there with them?
Lollipop. I thought you gave him the nickname of Lollipop last podcast.
That's right, Lollipop. I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to interrupt you. Grump, give me your attention here for a second. I want to interrupt you, and then I need your attention. So you saw that Barry Trotz came out and said that it's going to be tough for them to go ahead and make a deal and a trade there for a left wing. They said based off the position they're in, it's going to be tough for them to make a deal and trade. So maybe there is some validity there to that comment. Before we get too much into it, though, hold on. Stop.
No. Just can I ask you when he made the comment?
2-3 days ago.
There you go.
Again, I have a comment about the future here at the podcast. Before, again, you get too off the rails. I told you, We were coming at you. We were going to be giving the opportunity there for people who listen to the live stream, people who listen to the podcast, the ability to call in. Grump is saying, you're like, what did you call me? What did you refer to me as last podcast, last live stream? That was an endearing term there for myself. What did you refer to me as, Grump?
I don't remember. The human something.
The human car salesman, something
No. The human cliffhanger.
The human cliffhanger of, hey, we're going to get it. We're working on our way. Well, I can promise you this much, Grump. On Wednesday, we have a device coming in that will allow us to go ahead and allow call-in guest Grumpy Old Man. And again, I don't know. I'm probably going to have some time to play around with it. It's in the works. I'm hoping by Saturdays. On Saturday evenings, I'm thinking that's a great opportunity and option there for us, Grump. On Saturday after post-game, Saturday or Sundays, to have a call-in section where people get to speak. Because I know people want to speak with the Grumpy Old Man. They want to go ahead and try to prove you wrong or ask you questions. That's what's out there, Grump. Some people think that, they can stump the Grump. When other people think, hey, I just want to get a chance to speak with the legend, the Grumpy Old Man. It's coming your way. Whether you think you're going to stump the Grump or you want to talk with the Grumpy Old Man. I just want to let everybody know it's on the way.
Okay. So just to make it clear, you stopped my point.
Yes.
You stopped my point where I was spot on again because I didn't know what Trot said. I know I was ahead of the game on him. But you stopped my point to tell the people about something that you know isn't going to be ready for Wednesday. Is that correct? Because I know you might say it's going to be ready, but I'm going to make another Grumpstradamus prediction. It will not be ready, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. Will it be ready for Saturday? That's 50-50. He might think so. TJ thinks he can do anything. TJ's perfect. He can do everything, right? No, I'm just telling you the way it really is. Okay?
Oh, goodness.
Let's see. I had a salient point to make, and you cut me off. You should have let me finish.
I'm going to put it like this, Gia Grump. That's a point I need to make. That's a point I need. You're running over me again. That's a point I need to make. First off, Grumpy Old Man. Second off, trust me. Even if I derail you from your Leo Komarov point, you're not going to lose any steam. You're not going to lose any gusto. Jesus, come on, man. You never do. It's almost like I give you a chance to stop, regather your thoughts, and then come up with your next point. Because you get to the point where you're like, bah, 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 where you just point after point after point. You got to take a breath. Grump, I give you a chance to reset. Take your breath. Come on now. Pick it back up.
The intelligence just pouring out all the time. Don't ever ruin my stream of consciousness again. Don't ever do it.
No.
Especially to pump up something that you know isn't going to happen. Human cliffhanger.
It's going to happen, Grump. And I'll tell you, you better be ready. I've had multiple people ask there. They want to go ahead and have a call-in feature there. I'll tell you, bare minimum on Saturday. Next Saturday, it will be here. I'll have enough time there. We'll have to run through a little bit of a dry run, and we'll have to make sure we let people – I don't know how we're going to screen calls ahead of time. We're going to have to make sure it stays clean. Nobody over there just going and that's what I'm worried about. I got to make sure it stays clean, Grump. And I don't have any way to vet these calls that come in, so I'm trying to figure out a way to do that too. Well,
you are going to have a call screener. Who's going to do that? See, like I said, here's the thing, folks. TJ says it's going to happen. It will not happen. Not right away.
We're just going to have to do an on your honor. Everybody's going to have to say they're going to be polite there over the phone. If they want to go ahead and debate a little bit, got to keep the language clean.
I'm all for that.
Oh, I'm just saying we don't have a call screener, Grump. We don't have ability to add a third party in to sit here and screen calls for us.
What if you get a phone call, from somebody trying to say, "Hey, your car insurance is up"? Are we going to play that on the podcast or what? How's that going to work?
No, Grump. We'll obviously have like a nice little, I'll have it on this side of me, perhaps. The phone number people are going to have to call in on, and they're going to have to call in. We're going to set up, it's not going to be my telephone number, so I'm not going to be catching, hey, is your refrigerator running telephone calls at all hours of the night? It's not going to be my phone number, Grump, but it's going to be a phone number people can call in on that's going to be dedicated to the podcast and live stream.
Okay.
We won't be vetting calls ahead of time, but please.
Now,
Keep it responsible.
All kidding aside, that's going to be a lot more for you to do. I'm just going to say that that's probably going to be tough for you to do.
It's gonna take me a while to get used to it, but I don't think it's gonna be too crazy here. I just am excited about the new capabilities that we're adding here to the podcast. People are like, "Hey, what are we doing to improve?" We're improving. We're making measurable steps, bringing the fans podcast to the Islanders community. That is for sure, certain, Grumpy Old Man. You talked about the Islanders cartel, though. Nobody uses that phrase. I could tell you one thing. If we ever see Islanders cartel or New York Islanders cartel pop up anywhere, I can promise you, we know the person it's come from. It's come from the Grumpy Old Man. Nobody else uses that terminology. I do think it's interesting the point you bring up, though, about Barry and the point about Lou Lamoriello. Because Barry Trotz said the position they're in, they're not really sure what's going to happen at the trade deadline. So and again, I'm not sure if that's coach talk, because coach talk like that happens all the time. Oh, we're not sure if we're going to be able to make any moves at the trade deadline. They don't want to give away their hand, right?
Read between the lines, okay? You hear Butch and Brendan talking about how great Komarov is before the game. You hear Shannon and the walking hair disaster talking about, and her hair was absolutely hideous. First period, not so bad. Second period, I don't know what happened between periods.
They play hockey.
I can guess, but I don't want to. It's a family program. So I don't know what happened.
She plays hockey. She plays hockey with the tennis ball with Shannon.
Well, I don't know what happened, but all I know is her hair was an absolute disaster. Doesn't matter. But they come out and they start talking about how great. Look at Leo Komarov. Look at what he does here. Look at how he's so smart going along the boards. That's what they're talking about. At the post game, they're asking the other players, what's it like with Leo on that first line? He's so smart. He's with these. You guys are really gelling. That tells me that they all got their walking orders on what to talk about. That where we don't have an option to trade for a player that's going to cost us too much. So let's pump up Leo's tires because the fan base is watching how crazy and bad he is.
I have to play devil's advocate, though. Do you think because a season's long, there's a lot of news stories to cover? Obviously, Leo Komarov being elevated from a guy who's a taxi squad, healthy scratch type of player to the first line, that is newsworthy, right? That's conversation starter. Do you think maybe that's why they're asking those questions, though, to play devil's advocate?
No, that's not why. Because when a guy comes off your taxi squad because he is getting waived every 2 weeks or however long it is, it means you have no organizational depth when you have to do that. That's what it tells me. It doesn't tell me he's good enough to play on that line because he's not. He absolutely isn't. Is he a better offensive fit or an offensive player than Kiefer Bellows? No. Does he skate better than Kiefer Bellows? No. Does he take better 5-minute major penalties than Kiefer Bellows? Yes. Does he cost your team goals because he's lazy getting back on ice? Yes. Does Kiefer Bellows? No. You want to know why? Because Kiefer Bellows is never on the ice in those situations.
Okay, great, grumpy old man. I'm glad you got it out. There's a few interesting questions I have for you. Number one being, do you think Ross Johnson has a concussion?
Yes. Either that or he got his jaw broken.
Ooh. And I'll tell you.
He got hit right on the button.
But he was still throwing the hell out of those punches, too, and connected with some real solid ones. I'll tell you, that was the first NHL fight he has not run one outright. And I'll tell you, I'll be interested to see what he comes back with. And this was a game with injuries on both sides of the ice. I mean, the way Tyler Myers fell into the boards, immediately I think, oh, man, he's jarred something in the back of his shoulder. He's got an injury that's going to keep him out there for a while. I mean, Oliver Wahlstrom left there for a little bit at the time during the game. I mean, it was a rough game out there. Shocked, though. Ross Johnson there probably got a concussion.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly got injured. He didn't come back.
Yeah.
It was nice that Wahlstrom also took a nasty fall. He did come back in the shootout. But down 2 guys. Philadelphia was up to their usual filthy, dirty tactics today, right from the get-go. I mean, you have Marin in the pregame, right? He's challenging Johnston. Why? Because your team sucks. So you figure that, you know what? We have to go out there and stir up some trouble. I mean, let's think about it. I don't even know how many shots we had at the end of the game, but I mean, they outshot us by quite a bit. But it was like, even though they outshot us, we dominated that game. Possessionally, we dominated that game. Sorokin only had to make a couple of good saves. He had one in the second period when they had, I think, the 5-on-3. He did a fantastic split to stop that. Now, I have a question for you. We're down a man. Casey Cizikas is in the offensive zone, and he gets a little careless with a stick, gets a high sticking penalty. Did you hear the excuses Butch was making for him having that penalty? It was like, oh, well, we got a little loose with the stick. That happens sometimes. It's a mistake. What if Mat Barzal had done that? I'm going to tell you what would have happened. Barry would have come out post-game and ripped the hell out of him. That's the problem I have with Barry, and that's the problem I have with Butch toeing the company line. If you want to rip Mat Barzal for that penalty, then you have to rip Casey Cizikas because it's a selfish penalty. Okay? The double standard drives me absolutely crazy.
And again, for people who are new listeners, we love Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is an excellent coach. Yeah. Again, has flaws, has holes in what he does, just like every other person. He's human, right? So don't be like, oh my gosh, the grumpy old man is ripping Barry Trotz. He hates Barry Trotz. The grumpy old man doesn't hate Barry Trotz. I don't hate Barry Trotz. We love Barry Trotz. That being said, I understand and recognize your point for a certain grumpy old man. We fought off and killed that 5-on-3 penalty. Thank God. And I'll tell you one thing. Claude Giroux owns the Islanders. Absolutely owns the Islanders. Whenever he plays the Islanders, he seems to have a great night. It's the same exact thing with Sidney Crosby. Both of those players have just done extremely well historically against the Islanders. I hate any time Claude Giroux is out there on the ice. And I even thought to myself, going into the third period, I'm like, wow, we've really held Giroux under wraps. And sure enough, 2 goals there in the third period. Yikes. I will tell you, even though the Islanders let that slip away, I thought they had a lot of unbelievable opportunities there on Carter Hart. And I thought to myself all season long, is it the defense or is it Carter Hart just, not picking up where he left off last season? It's the Flyers defense. Man, oh man, are they bad. Oh, yeah. They're awful.
Yeah, without a doubt. Here's the thing. He was better tonight than he was the last time we played him. He has struggled this year, but we had a bunch of opportunities. He made a couple of saves on Barzal today. He made a couple of saves on Eberle today. I mean, wow, they were big-time saves.
And on Oliver Wahlstrom, they were all high opportunity scoring chances as well. It wasn't like, hey, we're shooting a puck there, just trying to put it on net there from the blue line or anything like that. No, these are all really, really high opportunity scoring chances that, were good shots and good efforts put on net, but Carter Hart came up big. And that's my thing. I was always wondering, hey, this season, is it Carter Hart? Is he just having a little bit of a sophomore slump? What's the deal with him? No, the Flyers defense absolutely sucks. That's the only thing I can think about it.
Right. Now look at it this way. Certain organizations have certain MOs, okay? The Flyers' MO, their defense has never been great, ever, throughout their history. They're a team with a strong forward group, ultra-aggressive, really aggressive on the forecheck. That is their game, and they have a serviceable defense. But they're not a team, a lockdown defensive team. They never have been. Their team usually goes – because their forward group's always been the same. The Legion of Doom line, going back to Bobby Clark, Reggie Leach, Bill Barber, all those guys, all the way back then. Just average run-of-the-mill defensemen. And when your goaltender isn't good, throughout their history, Bernie Parent, that's when they were winning cups. Then they had Hextall was good for a while. That's when they were doing really well. When Carter Hart plays well, they play well. I mean, it's just that plain and simple. Their goaltending is really – their team is more dependent on goaltending than other teams because their defensive system is so weak.
I will say that is definitely true. You talk about the yesteryears as well, ticking the clock back. I know we haven't mentioned it here on the podcast. I know I've sent you a few text messages, grumpy old man. I'm not sure if you actually read any of those. No. But I know we're going to be part of a reliving of the playoff dynasties. I know we're going to have a special coming out there speaking specifically about the Islanders dynasties, Fort Never Lose, and that unbelievable team back in the 4 cups in a row there during the 1980s. We're going to be talking specifically about that. I know you love those type of segments, grumpy old man. I figure as well, since we're talking about throwbacks a little bit, it's a good time to go ahead and plug that will be coming out here whenever we get working on it in the near future. We're waiting to hear back word there from the Hockey Podcast Network, but it's coming, Grump, and I know you're excited for it.
Yeah, I am excited. That's my type of thing. This is not a TJ project, though, folks, so it's actually going to happen.
Jesus Christ. Man, oh, man. I'm just going to have to make you eat your words as soon as we got this thing up and running, accepting calls, Grump. And, we're just going to have you say that you were wrong. There's nothing that was going to make some Islander fans more happy than you saying that.
I admit when I make mistakes. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. I'm just usually not wrong. Also, how are those T-shirts coming?
You know what?
Oh, okay. You've been promising that for how long?
Stop, Grump. They're in the works. Today, since last Wednesday, I said we are going to get the item needed in order to accept those calls. That was number 1 on the list. The T-shirts been reclassified up to number 1 there, Grump. So they're in the works. They're in the works. It's, baby steps, man. Baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day. And the Greatest Islanders podcast is not built overnight.
Join us again next week for Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Oh, goodness gracious. I do want to go ahead and show you, though, Grumpy Old Man, that unbelievable hat trick there by Mat Barzal. The funny thing also as well, all three of those goals were on NHL or ESPN's top 10. I think it's the first time their hat trick, all three different goals were featured in some capacity there on NHL or ESPN's top 10.
And think about how different they were, right? The end-to-end rush where he beats four Flyers from picking the puck up behind the net. Here's the first one, right? Takes it right down the ice. How does the second one look? He does a spin around.
Well, here's the first one right here, Grum. Right. He just walks around Zdeno Chara, and he puts that up in the toy department. Man, oh man, he slices and dices that entire Washington Capitals team. And boy, we know Chara can't skate very well. Man, oh man, that was a great finish too.
And FYI, Leo got a +1 for that. Thanks, Leo. Nice contribution to that play. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Here's the second goal now, Grump. You see this right here? I mean, Samsonov kind of comes a little out of position. Well, man, oh man, though, the awareness in putting that puck on net with that Spanorama shot is beautiful as well.
The thing was, he got caught when the pass went behind him. Everly threw the pass behind him through the crease, and he got caught just trying to scramble and open up the net, and it was a Spinorama goal.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful, right? Where's Leo on that? Oh, I don't know. He got a +1, though. Did he take any part in the play? No.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Sorry.
And this play, it's funny, right? They're showing the old highlights back of Mat Barzal when he was on MLB Network hitting a home run against Pedro Martinez. And, they were likening that, I think, in a pregame there, Butch was. And it's always funny. I mean, that was an outstanding goal. He batted out of midair there for the hat trick.
And here's one of my other favorites, the king of the secondary assist. He gets an assist on that just for the two sticks colliding and popping the puck out front. He gets an assist on that. That's a typical Josh Bailey's. It's just luck. And then Mat Barzal has to make the whole play for the goal. Thank you very much, Mat Barzal. Thanks for
I mean, obviously, Mat Barzal puts the finishing touches on it, but come on now, Grump.
He didn't make a pass. He didn't make a pass. The two guys had their sticks converge. The puck popped out front. That's what happened. In the air. He did nothing. It was so typical. Those three goals tell you all you need to know. Mat Barzal did everything, and the human sidecar on one, and then the old sidecar on the other side, Kami.
The lollipop. Come on, Grump. If you're going to give us a new name, you got to stick with it. Come on now. We got the Wicked 50 Cal saying, what's going on, guys? Good evening, good evening. We are just getting now to some comments for certain. I'll tell you what, Alexander says, Sorokin was good tonight.
Yes, he was. I'll tell you what, I didn't think, even though we won 8-4, I didn't think Varlamar was real good. I don't think he's been good the last couple of games out. I know we're not going to see a shift. I think maybe we'll do 50-50 the rest of the year. But, we trust those veterans over the young guys. But to me, Sorokin is real close to catching Varlamar.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of improvement still with Sorokin's game. So again, like the ceiling, obviously extremely high there with him, and excited about tonight's performance. Again, continuing to build there and continuing to build that confidence that he has. And he also says, and Matt Martin hasn't been bad on the power play either. That was a good pass by Matt Martin today there to go ahead and feed that goal to Anthony Beauvillier.
Okay, that was a sensational pass from Matt Martin. That was a really, really nice play. I mean, it's obvious they worked on it. But and Matt Martin, the $6 million man, I've been critical of him at times. But once again, the grumpy old man, when somebody does something right, they get kudos from the grumpy old man because if anything, I'm objective and I'm fair. Okay? That's the thing. I'm fair. And that's the problem I have with some of the things that Coach Barry does. He's not fair to every player. I'm fair to every player. If you suck, you suck. If you're good, you're good. Matt Martin set that. That was a beautiful pass by Matt Martin. Did we miss Anders' lead down low? Nope. Not at all.
Really? Hold on.
Matt Martin can stand in front of the net and deflect passes. Here's the thing. He can do that just as good as Anders Lee. I'm just telling you. Average is average for a reason.
Oh, my God. I'm in shock and awe. Let's go ahead and pump the brakes. I think that was an outstanding job there by Matt Martin. And he did have that good redirection goal as well. I think it was earlier on this week. Was it Monday he scored that power play goal? Yeah, I get it. In the same token, though, come on now. I would much rather have Anders Lee on that power play. And I'll tell you this much, too. If you're telling me going into the playoffs that we'd have Matt Martin on our first line power play throughout the entirety of the playoffs, and that's just a lineup we're rolling with. Ooh, I don't feel too confident about that. Maybe you do. I know he's been making some plays here recently. I'm just talking about maybe because the track record isn't there. He's not a guy necessarily I'd figure would be one of those key producers there on a power play. He had a very, very, very nice pass today. But you feel comfortable with him continuing to be in that first line power play, Grump?
I have a question. Do you feel comfortable with Leo Komarov as your first line left wing? The Islander organization does. They've been telling you for the last week.
For both of those.
He's a stabilizing influence for the team. He's a stabilizing influence for that line.
You asked me the question. For both of those, no, I do not feel comfortable.
No, neither do I. But you want to know something? You want to know why I miss? I'm going to tell you what. You can write this down too. I miss average right now. Why? Do you want to know why?
Why?
Yeah. You want to know why?
Yeah,
well,
why?
If he's in the lineup, I don't have to watch Leo Komarov embarrass himself on the ice every night.
I want somebody to clip that to where it just says, I miss average right now from being in the lineup. You don't have to go ahead and add the context in behind of it, just so you can go ahead and have that, just do it like the media does. Just clip a certain portion there, and we could just continue to roll that. Because with this, Grump, also with this new tool we're getting, I can just press little buttons, and it's supposed to go ahead and play little sound snippets. So if we can clip that where I miss average, boom, I could just play that every once in a while.
You know what? Maybe you can go retro and try to slice and dice the comment where you said that Anders Lee was better than Patrick Kane. Maybe you can try to do that. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like one of those ransom notes. Average Anders is better than Patrick Kane. And then, you can piece it together how, with all the other ridiculous things that you're trying to backstroke to now. Okay?
Oh, God,
everyone knows what you said.
Oh, goodness. Michael M. is saying here, they didn't play well, guys, but I'm glad we picked up the points. We need to make a trade badly, multiple if possible.
I'm telling you, like I said, I like to listen to what they say, particularly when the cartel starts talking, because they're telling you what they're going to say. I have a feeling that the prices are too high, or their prices are too high from what they're willing to pay. And I think we're not going to see any change.
I've told you, the way the trade deadline has been and will continue to be, if you want a player that has any sort of upside that can maybe contribute to your team, it's almost required that you give up at least a second, if not a first-round pick, and then some. I mean, that at the trade deadline, teams hold other teams for ransom. And if you really, that's what I've always said, if you needed one of those guys who could fill a top line left wing position there for us, or top six left winger, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, unless you have a guy that you can maybe project that, he's kind of like fringe right now, but if he plays in the system, he gets elevated in his game, kind of like a Brock Nelson did, like when Barry Trotz was here. Unless you can identify a guy like that and maybe get him a little cheaper, it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost an arm and a leg.
Well, I think we should make a deal if we can.
Yeah.
I don't think Leo Komarov is the answer, regardless of what they're trying to push. That's the narrative, but I don't believe it.
We got a comment here from Scott saying the Rangers had an ugly 1 point. So happy we got our ugly 2 points. Yeah, the Rangers lost there in shootout to the Buffalo Sabres.
Hey, like I said, tonight was a big win for us, really. You think about it. It's particularly going to overtime, right? Every time we go to overtime against the Flyers, we wound up losing. And they had a couple of chances. They really did. But I'm just glad we beat the Flyers. I hate the Flyers. And, we had a couple. Somebody said, hey, Grumpy. Let me ask you a question. When we scored the 8 goals, do you think that's an aberration, or is it a sign of things to come that the Islanders are going to start scoring more goals? And I said, let me ask you a question. Look at one of the goal scorers on our team tonight, Josh Bailey. That should tell you all you need to know. It was an aberration. If Josh Bailey scoring goals, sorry, that's an aberration.
Oh,
you're not going to see that night. And you remember that goal? Wide open net. And I swear he tried to pass out.
No, stop. Michael M. saying, I hope you guys are safe and healthy. Sorry, we always pick on TJ. You're a very handsome bowling ball. All righty, the first hair joke coming in hot. The Wicked 50 Cal says here, the only Islanders journalists I care about are Rob, and I always mess up that last name, and Steven Rosner. Now, interesting. I think we are going to get Steven Rosner there on the podcast in some capacity there for a little collaboration. And we're in touch there with Tommy, too. We have a few. We're trying to change up the look here on Wednesdays, but we're trying to have guests, too. So Grumpy Old Man could, I don't know, Grump, you're not a sparer, but you have pretty steadfast positions. And I know if somebody doesn't necessarily agree with you, it'll be always fun to watch and listen to. Because, we've had quite a few back and forths before, and it's always entertaining. It's always good to listen radio for certain, Grumpy Old Man. We are in the process, though, of getting their guests on Wednesdays coming up. I know you're going to say the human cliffhanger. I know, Grump. So go ahead and keep your peanut gallery comments to yourself.
I don't even need to say it. I hope you do. I know. Now, here's the thing. Everyone listening, I know TJ's trying to do that. And here's the thing. I know I jump on TJ. Here's the thing. If it wasn't for TJ, there is no podcast. I'll be honest with you. TJ's the brains behind the organization without a doubt. Yeah. I'm not, that is not a secret. So I get on him because, he has a million trillion ideas. It just takes a little while to get him out there. So, and it's just fun for me to pick on him, honestly. So.
We got you. No worries, Grump. David C. saying Bailey played a smart game out there tonight, right, Grump?
Doesn't he always, right? He's super smart. It's funny. The game that we beat Washington, Butch even said, there's nobody going to the front of the net. And where's Bailey? Right? There's nobody near me. He's standing in the corner. I yelled, Bailey, get out of the effing corner and get to the front of the net. We had 2 straight minutes of possession in the offensive zone. Barzal created everything. We got to change our line, and that Bailey would not go to the front of the net. Something? He did score the goal in front of the net, and you want to know what I heard? I heard he was questionable for this game because he got a rash. He got an allergic reaction for getting too close to the goal net.
No, God.
He'll play today. But he toughed it out anyway for 901 straight games or however many games it is.
Now, the rash he caught, Grump, is that kind of like
he's allergic to the front of the net. He's allergic to high goal scoring opportunities.
I'm just wondering what the feelings he had there was on it. Was it kind of like what's that? Not chicken pox that older people catch.
Shingles.
What's that? Shingles. Was it kind of like the rash of shingles where his whole body, one side of his body, goes ahead and breaks out there and those itchy, I guess like discolorations and splotches, Grump?
I think it was more of a rash from anxiety, from actually being somewhere he'd never been before.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm glad you're able to go ahead and give us more of your medical diagnosis on that one. And Michael M. says, that's my wife in a photo. By the way, Grumpy, I had to look up what you meant by outkicking my coverage. Big oof. Not everyone can be as beautiful as you, Grumpy fans. Talking about your Grumpy only fans, Grump.
Yeah, all I meant to say was she's a very pretty young lady. That's all I meant to say.
And the Wicked 50 Cal says that Sorokin Selly was gorgeous.
It was great. You know what? It makes me think, you know what? The game really means something to him. It was nice to see coming from him. It really was.
Again, a guy who really doesn't speak the language. I like to see,
It was a big win for him. It was a big, that win meant something for him.
For certain. Again, it's for a guy who really kind of has a tough time explaining what his real thoughts are. Because, again, English is a second language there for him. You could see the emotion come and pour out there on the ice. That's a different way we can connect with him as fans. I'd love to see that celebration, just to speak a little further on that, Grump.
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Brian J. says golf. Okay, I'll sleep. Yeah,
I would think, you know what? It's so easy to throw a golf match. So easy. Think about, if a big guy, he just missed that putt by an inch or something like that. But he bet on to lose by a stroke or something like that. I could see you definitely making money with that, trying to fix a golf match. That's about as easy as it can be. I'm not saying that's weird. I'm not saying we should try to do that, but I'm just saying.
If I had somebody who I knew was going to go ahead and, throw a golf match, whatever. I don't know anybody who'd throw a golf match, though, and I don't watch any golf. I could maybe name about 5 or 10 golfers. So that's definitely out of my realm.
Yeah, well, I could make a bet on DraftKings if I had an in with, somebody who plays professional golf, who says, yeah, okay, we'll chip in Johnny here. We'll give him a little cut of the pay. We'll make sure we lose by a stroke or two, and they'll just miss a putt right at the end. And we'll go, oh, and I'll be going, yeah, I won the money.
Alexander saying, Grump, I texted my uncle, giving you some closure here, Grumpy old man, about Barzal when he put up the Cinco point night, and he didn't even acknowledge me. Ooh, I'll tell you one thing. That's how you know your point is kind of sunk in there a little bit. He's like, your uncle's having to go ahead and try to save his words until Mat Barzal has a time period where he doesn't score a few goals or a few points. That's what he's doing right now. He's trying to save his energy because he couldn't even win an argument if he were to try to go ahead and combat there in a verbal fisticuffs with you.
Well, I you know what? I don't know Alexander's uncle. I don't profess to, but I'm going to speak directly to him right now. Your nephew knows what he's talking about when it comes to Mat Barzal. Just get on the bandwagon now before it's full up.
Oh, goodness gracious. David C. saying, Letty has stepped up his game Letty has stepped his game up in the last 10.
I think he's played pretty well all season. As everyone knows, I don't think he meshes with Mayfield well, but he's made a couple of mistakes the last couple of games that he wasn't making earlier. Today, in the overtime, beautiful pass from Barzal. He couldn't right in front of the goal, he couldn't handle it. I didn't think he was great today. He was okay, but he's played really well this season on Hall.
Oh, goodness. We've got Jerry Springer. He's got some issues again with commenting there on the live stream. He's got some issues. He's got to hang up there where he's not able to comment, but he's messaging me, Grump, but he wants to ask you a specific question. You know, Jerry, he has some
Mayor of Cincinnati, former mayor of Cincinnati. I know him.
The former mayor of Cincinnati comes with some of the weirdest and craziest questions. He wants me to tell the crusty old boomer, that's referring to you there, Grump, and his use of commie while describing Komarov proves silly, and ask him if he knows what communism is.
Certainly I do. I mean, that's where he's from. He's from Russia. Komarov, the commie. I mean, that's what he is. Absolutely.
I like Lollipop. I really was hoping Lollipop was going to stick, Grump, but
yeah, I can call him Lollipop. I forget. You got to remind me, right? Everybody's got a nickname here. Commie's always been his nickname. But yes, I know what communism is. They want to subjugate the people. Russia's done it forever since, Lenin, Stalin, and all that, way back there.
You're taking it too deep.
They want to keep the people under their thumb. That long story short, right?
Okay, we're moving.
We profess that, yes, we want everyone to have everything be free, but it's never like that because the people at the top have everything and they take away from everyone else. Communism is the wrong way to go.
We're not a political podcast.
But I will say I'm anti-communist. I will say that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Grump. Nobody cares. Woo, Sorokin was very good tonight. This is Frank K. Pulak has been atrocious. Bavillier has been great. Varley has vision issues. He can't pick up on those long-range shots. That's all about vision, and Dobson played well tonight. Barzal's on another level.
Do you remember what I said? I think maybe it was the last podcast before Dobson's. I said, wait till you see Dobson back and how much better our zone exits are going to be and how we handle the puck behind the net. And you saw it tonight for certain. Excuse me. And you saw it on Thursday night. How smooth he is back there. Even when he's under pressure from other players, he manages to get that puck and corral it and make the right first pass. He does it every single time, and he did it again tonight. That's what we were missing. Honestly, we were really missing that in the defensive zone. He brings that element. So fantastic. Barzal has just been, like I said, earlier in the year, he took a quantum leap jump. No matter what type of obstacles they put in his path, real or imagined, he's overcome all that. He's been sensational. Varlamov has been struggling. Yes, he has. And I've said for a couple of weeks now, right? Pulak and Pellick, everyone's saying how great they are. I've noticed cracks in their game all year long. Bavillier is hot, right? Bavillier's super hot right now, and let's ride him while we can.
He's a streaky scorer. When he's hot, man, oh man, you try to give him as much ice time as humanly possible because he will continue to perform. What does he have? 7 points in the last 5 games? 5 of those have been goals. So again, speaking about how hot to the touch he is, for certain. I mean, he's fuego, grumpy old man.
The one thing I would say is that I wish we didn't have so many streaky scorers on this team. It's great when they're hot, but when they're cold, you can be in real trouble. We've seen that, particularly like when you get to the playoffs. You'd like guys who are just kind of more consistent, if you know what I mean. Josh Bailey is consistent. He never scores, but you know what you're going to get from him. But you don't know what you're getting at night from guys like Nelson and Beauvillier and Eberle. I mean, those guys are not super consistent. When they're hot, we're rolling. When they're not, we're in trouble.
David C. also says, Grump, the $6 million man may have been a bargain.
No.
Well, if you can fill the exact role of Anders Lee, why wouldn't he be a bargain then? Right? You're getting Anders Lee value there for a fraction of the cost.
Well, you know what? Lou shouldn't have signed Lee when you can get somebody like that, like the $6 million man.
Oh, stop. I'm just joking around. Come on now. Anders Lee's obviously significantly better than Matt Martin.
He is better than Matt Martin. The only problem I have with Matt Martin signing is that you made it 4 years. You didn't need to make it 4 years. I'm sorry.
Moving right along here, Brian Lambick says, have another beer, and has this clown ever put on skates? Grumpy old man's put on skates. Now, Grump, you mentioned last podcast that the Islanders are going to be fielding calls for what middle-aged individual can go ahead and stand on skates, plop their ass in front of the net, and redirect pucks. Now, are you planning on going back? I know you're old. You're not middle-aged. Are you going back out there for those tryouts?
No, I'm not, because like I said, I'm not middle-aged. I would pray if I was middle-aged, but that's not problem. Here's the thing, that's not the case. So I'm a little bit past my prime.
Oh, goodness gracious. Frank K. also says there, Martin has been great. I must rave about the dang barbecue food truck outside the Coliseum. Excellent sandwich, full of pulled pork, sausage, cheese, and homemade chips. Recommendable. I was about to say, I love myself some barbecue. So I've got a recommendation there from Frank K for certain. But yeah, Martin has been playing well as of late for certain. Again, that pass was outstanding today too.
Well, I love Frank's new picture. That's obviously a new one. I like it.
Oh, wow. Paul D saying Leo's going to get a 4-year extension.
Hey, he earned it, right? He was a +4 one night. That's good enough to get him an extension. Where's Casey Cizikas? We know he was on the ice puck watching instead of marking his man in front of the net today that gave up the tying goal. But that's okay. He played great 3 years ago. Let's re-sign him. David
D is saying, I'm just going to say David D. Grump because you grilled me last time and I mispronounced his last name. He says, we are making no trade. God, no. Komarov playing on a top line. Someone's high. Grump, he thinks there's no way the Islanders don't make a trade.
Let's see. I called it in the offseason, right? I said the Islanders weren't going to do anything, and they didn't. I'm going to make the same prediction here. The only time that Lamoriello has been there for over 3 years now, there's only one time at the trade deadline he made the 2 trades. That's it. And he made the trade for Matt Martin when he gave up a bag of pucks for a guy who was a healthy scratch every night. That's
well,
it.
You said after we traded, and again, this is just for historical context because I do remember this. You said after they traded away Devon Taves, they were going to do nothing. I was in the opposite camp. I thought they were going to do something to address it. I thought they were going to try to go ahead and free up there some cap. Little did we know Johnny Boychuk was going to retire there and be put on long-term injury. So it's not even like we needed those immediate draft capital pieces to move a toxic asset.
Well, that's what happens. And I was right. We didn't make a move then. I don't think, like I said, I was hoping beyond hope we were going to make a move. But just listening to the comments, okay, you know what it's telling me? We're not making any moves. We're going to pump up Leo and say how great he is, what a stabilizing influence. He's in the perfect spot all the time. Our goals against on that line is down. It is what it is.
David C. saying, any chance of a post-trade deadline show on Monday the 12th, TJ? I don't know. I know we'll have
we won't have. I can tell you one thing: we won't have anything to report. It'll be a short show.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, goodness. We might wait until Wednesday to talk about it there, unless the Islanders do something crazy. If the Islanders do something crazy, maybe we can go ahead and we'll make some time there to go ahead and do something in some capacity, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Again, it's it's a little over a week away. It's close. It's only 9. I mean, what's today? April the 3rd? April the 12th. It's only 9 days away.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yep. Frank K. also saying there, Bellows is a goner.
And they don't like him. They don't like him. I mean, think about it now. Johnston's out. Del Cole's out. somebody else is going to have to play. Is he going to get another shot? I mean, who knows? Maybe Jarnac or maybe Timosov is going to get another shot. Who knows who he's going to put in next? I will tell you he will field 12 forwards though.
Moving right along there, David C saying, "Why do I think there's going to be a boatload of calls about TJ's hairline? I don't know. I'll roll with the punches."
Okay, I think you know what I think the initial flush of seeing TJ's bald head, I think that's kind of worn off, and it wears off after a while. You might get a couple here or there, but I think you'll see them eventually die down.
I'm willing to keep that gig going as long as possible. Yeah, Frank K feels that Bellows will be dealt at the deadline. They don't like his two-way game.
For what?
That's what I was about to say. I mean, like, maybe he has somewhat value. I mean, he plays 3 games, scores 3 goals during that time period when he was given top 6 minutes. I don't feel like he's got a lot of trade value, but I mean, maybe as a sweetener. I'm just not sure what the Islanders are going to do. They have to do something to address the need for a top 6 forward, right? You'd think.
Well, for me, why would you want to trade a guy when his value is so low? If you really don't want him there, you give him a chance to succeed. Here's the thing. He's a better offensive player than Leo Komarov. And I'm telling you, he's just as good defensively because Komarov seems like he's out there for every big goal against. Or takes some stupid penalty or does something dumb that costs us. Bellows can do the same thing, but he has more offensive acumen. And if the kid does produce and you don't like him, maybe in the offseason you can move him to get a higher draft pick or to get somebody, maybe you trade Bellows and one of your toxic assets to the Kraken so that they'll take one of your big contracts off your hand.
That's what I'm saying too. If you don't like Kiefer Bellows, you want him gone, fine, albeit. In the same token, though, you need to use him to pair up and to move a contract you don't want to keep long term. That's your ideal scenario. Don't go ahead and trade him away for pennies on the dollar here at the trade deadline if you feel like that Seattle Kraken have any interest at all in a guy like Kiefer Bellows.
Yeah, like I said, it's just not smart. It's just not smart.
We'll see how it unfolds, but I do think again, Kiefer Bellows has no future here with the Islanders.
Yeah, that's obvious. I mean, it's the same thing with Josh Hosang, right? They had a chance to let him play, establish some value, and maybe you get something to move him. Instead, they bury him and treat him like garbage, in essence, never give him a shot, and then you have a dead asset. I mean, sometimes you have to see the forest for the trees. I know Barry just wants to win, but at some point, maybe Lou should say, hey, Barry, I know you don't like Kiefer. Let's let him establish a little bit of rhythm, get some goals, and then move him. He had 3 goals in 3 games? And then all of a sudden, back to the bench for him.
Just a comment that you made, I want Barry to focus on winning, not on getting players to increase trade value than to offload them. As much as I love making a killing there and selling high, and buying low. In the same token, though, you want to win games. That's what Barry's there for. Moving right along, I think this is a comment you'll understand. Joe Fitzpatrick says Baba Booey.
Yeah, that's Howard Stern. Gary Delabate is known as Baba Booey. And a lot of times people, they'll do call-in shows and they'll say Baba Booey. And
gotcha.
Thing.
Oh, goodness. I gotcha. Brian B saying, hi, guys. And Frank K also says he almost threw his hair out there on the ice for Barzal's hat trick. Now, that would have been quite a throw there. I'll tell you that much, Frank K. Those locks are definitely valued highly. David C saying here, message from Brian P. Hideous that Leo and Ross are still playing in the top 9. Yeah.
Well, Ross didn't want to play in the top 9, but 1:20 today. So,
oh, goodness gracious. Paul D saying here, Grumpy Old Man is a conspiracy theorist.
I am a conspiracy theorist. Yes, I am.
What?
Here's the thing. I look at certain things, and here's the thing. You might call it conspiracy theorist, but I'm always looking at when people say something, what do they really mean?
What's the deeper meaning behind what they say? I don't think that's being a conspiracy theorist. I think that's just being analytical on what words are said and what the intention is behind it. Conspiracy theorist, Grump, now that's some crazy stuff. I don't think you're a conspiracy theorist per se. Oh, okay. We'll entertain different ideas for certain. Again, it makes for good talk. But I don't think you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, no. Like I said, but I mean, sometimes when I think, oh yeah, what about this? This happened. What does that mean? Just to myself. But I like to look at, I'm like a human Corsi machine, I guess. I'm looking at, the percentages based on this and that and the other thing, what's going to happen. And like I said, I do like to listen to what people say, particularly the cartels. Every team in every sport has them. And when they start leaking things, and that's where, if you ever look, hey, who do we trust who talks about, the Cleveland Browns? Mary Kay Talbot talks about the Cleveland Browns. When she says something, a lot of that comes through because she's connected with the team. And that's why when you hear the TV broadcasters say it, and you hear the Staples say it, they're connected. They're tight with the team. So when they're leaking that stuff, they're getting it directly from the organization.
That was actually an article written by Andrew Gross. And again, it's worth it. Take everything with a grain of salt. I look at it like this. How much of it is actually coach speak? You get a lot of it around this time period where they're just coach speak. And it's really hard to discern the difference, in my opinion. Alexander also wants to say, what's so bad about trading a late first-round pick for a star winger? I mean, what's the big deal?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you want a guy for more than just 2 weeks. That's my thing. If I want to give up, we don't have enough talent where we can be dealing away first-round draft picks. I don't feel we do. Certainly not enough young talent. But I mean, if you want to give a first-round draft pick away, which I'm not opposed to, I want somebody who's going to be here for a little while, not somebody who's just going to be here till the end of the year and a short playoff run, and then we move on. That I don't want to see.
Jerry Springer also wants to know here, what would you be willing to give up for Taylor Hall if you'd like him long-term cap space, if the cap space would allow? So again, if Taylor Hall was an option there and cap space would allow a long-term contract, what would you be willing to give up there for a guy like Taylor Hall?
I just don't see him as a fit. I just don't see him as a fit. But would I be willing to give up if you could have him long-term? I don't know how much you'd have to pay him, how long the contract would be. He's still got a rep out there as a former MVP. I mean, what was it? 3 years ago, 2 years ago, he was MVP. Not too long ago.
Yeah, it was a while. I don't remember exactly how long it is, but again, it feels like a long time ago. I know it wasn't a long time ago, but it feels like forever ago. Maybe because the league is just always so constant and fluid in movement, but it felt like a long time ago he was an MVP.
You would have to find out from him if he was willing to subjugate his game to play the Barry Trotz system. To me, that's the biggest thing, because he certainly has talent. I think he's overrated the way some people treat him. I mean, do I want to pay him $8 million a year like he's getting now? He certainly shouldn't get more than Mat Barzal. But you know what? I'd be willing, if you could have him long term, I'd be willing to roll the dice with the first round pick for him. I would.
Again, even though the production hasn't been there for him this season, I feel like he's still going to get paid there a hefty amount. Frank K also saying there, it was Ross had a hand injury, not a head injury. Okay, fair enough. I guess he connected on. I really thought, because man, oh man, I'll tell you, the Flyers. I mean, I don't remember who was. You said it was Morin who was fighting Ross Johnson.
Yeah, Samuel Morin.
I mean, he connected on one right there. I figured maybe he's brought back there for concussion protocol there in some capacity. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a hand injury. Oh, wouldn't you hate to see him break his hand there punching another guy like that? Oh, man, oh, man.
In boxing, they call that a flash knockdown. Because, I mean, he was down, he was right back up.
We never talked about the fight between Chara and Matt Martin.
Wasn't much of a fight. I mean, here's the thing. I like Zdeno Chara. I really do. I think he's a class act. I think Matt Martin's a class act. They just got into it. Even at the end of the fight, you saw Chara gave him a little pat on the backside when they went down to the ice. I mean, you know what? No problem there. No harm, no foul.
By the way, Taylor Hall won the Hart Trophy there in the 2017-18 season. So 2018.
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
2018, he won that Hart. Just to go ahead and give that to you. Brian J., I don't need you to opine on this too much here, Grump, but how does Leo play on the first line and Bellows doesn't play? Shaking my head.
Trotz likes Leo. He doesn't like Bellows. It's just as plain and simple as that.
Absolutely. Gotcha. Brian J. also saying Carter Hart's fine. It's 100% on the defense there for their lack of play.
Yeah, but
for the reason it struggles.
Yeah, but he wasn't playing well earlier this year, which really highlighted the fact that their defense wasn't good. But he wasn't good either. Now he's playing well, and their defense is letting him down. but he's able to make some saves, and he did tonight. That kept them in the game.
David C says, is the fire hydrant on spring break? TJ, no, the fire hydrant's here. I'm just trying to conserve myself so I don't have to do a mid-live stream bathroom break. And Brian J saying here, Grump was built in a day. Wow. I think Grump was built over many, many years. This is a culmination of many years right here the Grumpy Old Man has.
I don't know. I don't want to break out the scripture right now, but it is Easter time.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, man, oh, man. And Brian J says, look at Grumpy's face cringe when he talks about Martin.
That's not true. That's not true. Not true at all. I was very complimentary of him today. I've been very complimentary of him today.
I know. No, he's just saying when you were giving him those compliments, he was just like, oh, it's almost like you're repulsive to say it.
Not at all. I want Matt Martin to succeed. That's what people don't understand. I want these players to succeed. Just because they're signed to bad contracts doesn't mean I don't want them to succeed. I absolutely do.
So you're not, again, so I guess people do have the opinion that because you take these positions that, hey, it's a bad contract, I want to see them play poorly, so it proves my point correctly. But you're saying that's not the stance you take.
Here's what I want. Prove me wrong. Prove me that you deserve that contract. That's what I want. Here's the thing. I don't blame any player for getting as much as they can for as long as they can. I do not. Any sport, their careers are finite. Very, very short. I don't blame them for anything. It's the stupid management that makes those decisions.
Grump, we have a comment. We're not going to let this derail the podcast again because I know the election last year was very vitriolic. Greg says, Grumpy, you were about as fair as that rigged election that they had down there in November. We're moving right along there. He's saying you're not fair from his standpoint there, Grumpy Old Man.
I don't understand that comment. I'm very fair. When somebody does something well, I compliment them.
And Alexander says, Grumpy admits that he misses average. He's laughing, dying, rolling laughing his ass off, Grumpy Old Man.
Good. I do. If I have to watch Leo Komarov, it makes me want to shoot myself in the head.
Frank K says, Martin made sure his daughter saw him fight the biggest guy possible. He's teaching her to fight. She has a vicious left. Ask Sydney. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I'll tell you.
I love that today. They showed, the lollipop segment, how Josh Bailey's kids are watching, and who else? Maybe Everly's kids are watching, and Martin's kids are watching. They all dressed them up in little owls. It was cute. It was, one of those little powder puff segments they love to do.
I love that. I mean, it humanizes the players that we watch day in and day out. And it's again, tempers can get angry about their performance on the ice. But I mean, again, it's always nice to see those every once in a while.
Can you name one person who doesn't think that every player on the Islanders isn't a good guy? I don't think you can say that about anyone. You don't have any jerks on the Islander team. I really believe you do not have any jerks on that Islander team. Not a one. Yeah. Some teams do, but I'm going to tell you what, I don't see that at all on the Islander teams. Not at all. I don't think they need to be humanized. They're already human as far as I'm concerned. You want to bring out some jerk like Sean Avery, right? We talked about him a couple weeks ago. You want to soften his image and make him seem like a human being when certainly he doesn't portray himself to be one. But if you humanize him, yes, that helps. I mean, does anyone think that Josh Bailey is some slime ball in a sea of pus? I certainly don't.
Oh,
I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he's a really good guy, and he's really smart too. Ask any Islander broadcaster, they'll tell you.
Oh, good. It's got a comment here from John P. saying, a YouTube comment. Sorry, I forgot to say YouTube comments. I miss Jiggs and Eddie.
Man, Jiggs McDonald and Eddie Westfall. Oh, they were great together as a team. They were really, really good. Number 18.
Yeah, we've got a comment here, and I wanted to make sure I can pull this up for you to show you what exactly this is, Grumpy Old Man. Frank K says, Grumpy Old Man, if I go to Philly, I'm going to bring you back a Philly taco. Do you know what that is?
I hate Philadelphia. I don't know anything. I know a Philly grinder. I don't know about a Philly taco.
Well, I'm going to show you here. I would like something like this. Knowing you, I'm not sure if you're going to like this type of food. I think you're pretty picky, at least when you talk about what you eat. You seem pretty plain. But a Philly taco looks like a Philly cheesesteak rolled up in a piece of cheese pizza. Oh man, that looks great. I can only imagine the calories, but it looks fantastic.
I like my pizza separate and I like Philly cheese. I love the cheesesteaks, but I don't like onions. So I always have to get it without onions.
Yeah, onions gives me bad indigestion. I can understand that, but that would
I don't
be
like it because they feel like worms in my mouth. It's a texture thing. I love the smell, I do, but I can't same thing with eating sausage and peppers and onions. I mean, I love the smell; it's great, but just the texture in my mouth makes me no, I can't do it. And I do eat very plain though. Yes.
Oh, goodness here. Alexander says here, Grumpy, if you had a chance to interview, what questions would you ask him? Or better yet, if you could interview Leo Komarov, what questions would you ask Leo? What questions would you ask Uncle Leo? Lollipop.
When does your visa expire and you have to go back to Russia?
No, stop. What? I mean, seriously, what questions would you ask Lollipop?
I guess I would ask him, what was how did it feel to get licked by Brad Marchand? What was it like? What was your initial reaction? And I just want to see, did he say it was just unbelievable? Did he enjoy it? Did he at first not enjoy it? Then when he did the second time, he kind of enjoyed it. I just want to see what makes him tick. That's all.
You want to see what makes him tick.
Yeah.
You wouldn't ask him what it's like to be a smart guy out there on the ice.
I don't think anyone's accused him of being smart. It's Jack Bailey they accuse of being smart.
Oh, goodness gracious.
He's always in the right place. That's what they say about him. You always know where he's going to be. 20, 30 foot behind.
Brian J says, TJ, is the Easter Bunny going to put Rogaine in your basket? Maybe if I'm lucky. I'll have to make sure to ask the Easter Bunny. Do you write letters to the Easter Bunny, or he just know what you want? How does that work with the Easter Bunny? I forget.
I don't want to say anything to anyone who's listening to this podcast, but I don't think there is an Easter Bunny.
Oh, Crump.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think you write letters to the Easter Bunny. I don't think so.
What are you doing, Grump? There's a large percentage of children who will listen to this live stream and podcast. If you can't tell by the way you speak and the attitude you have, children love to listen to this podcast, Grump. And I think you owe them an apology.
I apologize to everyone for me saying I didn't think there was an Easter Bunny, but I do remember those Cadbury eggs, the Reese's eggs. They had the lion with the bunny ears going. Rah! I do remember that.
Okay, this I've taught again. So this is, I guess, a running joke here. Komarov is not Russian. Yeah, he's Estonian. I've told this to Grumpy on the live stream before, but now he just rolls with it that Leo Komarov is Russian. I've told him before. I'm like, he's Estonian. Man, but he just continues to roll with the fact that he's Russian. It's the same reason why when I say Lundkrantz, he tries to give him a different name in German all the time and just try to embellish the name a little bit. It's just who he is.
Yeah, Komarov, Kami, It's easy. It's easy.
Alexander says, what would Josh Bailey's nickname be? I think you've already got one, the human sidecar, right?
He's got so many. The human sidecar, the king of the secondary assist. I mean, shit. Anything that, the non-productive one. I mean, I don't know, the smartest guy on the ice with air quotes around it.
The group mate who was carried to the grade, the group mate who did nothing. I mean, I like sidecar better. I think it gets to the point a little more quick. The Wicked 50 Cal in a YouTube comment says Mayfield probably had his best game at least the last 8 games, which doesn't mean much, albeit. But he thought Mayfield played well here tonight.
Yeah, I thought we played well as a team, except for that 1 minute stretch. I mean, all right, they had more shots than us, but we're really a whole bunch from high scoring chance areas. No, I couldn't. First of all, I couldn't believe we gave the first goal. Then the second one, I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I just baffled. But I did think Mayfield played better today.
Alexander says, speaking of Favillier, why not try him with Barzal? I mean, he has been rolled out there with Mat Barzal a few times. That being said, I mean, you think about it, the one time he was out there on the ice there with Mat Barzal, they immediately score a goal once Leo Komarov is taken off that line.
Well, all I know is Leo was too slow and old to get off the bench, and Barzal jumps on and he scores. No +1 for Leo and no points for Leo. But yes, for Barzal and for Eberle.
Gotcha, grumpy old man. We also have a YouTube comment here from the Wicked 50 Cal saying, Has there been any updates on Anatoly Golishev? Is he getting ready to play in Bridgeport? I know he's preparing there to play in Bridgeport. Not sure how long it's going to be until he does play there in Bridgeport, but I know that he is going to be playing in Bridgeport.
That is the plan for him, yes.
Give me a sec here, Grump. I've got to go ahead and alter here this camera. Thank you very much. But yeah, he's going to be playing there in Bridgeport. Again, not sure until how long until he'll be ready. I mean, like, you have to figure there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment time period for him as they change ice surfaces and are playing on a smaller ice surface, right, Grump?
He's awful small too, 5'7".
That's not what I asked. I said I figured there's going to have to be an adjustment time period. No,
I don't think he'll be up with the big team.
Oh, in Bridgeport.
Yes, he'll play in Bridgeport. That's the plan for him, is to play in Bridgeport. I'm just thinking about the big team. I guess I'm thinking big picture, long term.
You don't think he's ever going to make it up there with the big team?
I don't think he's big enough to fit what they do. You have to look at everything through the prism of the system that they play. We don't go after anyone who is particularly good on offense. They have to play defense. You have to be solid defensively to play for this team, for this regime. You just do. That's why I don't think Taylor Hall's an option. I mean, look at it. I mean, guys who have offense, if they don't play good enough defense, they're back on the bench, even if they score. I mean, that's just the way it is.
You will be glad to know, Grumps, through a few more games. Simon Holmstrom now 13 games down there in Bridgeport. And again, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers have been yikes bad this year. 5 points so far in 13 games there in Bridgeport. I know you haven't mentioned anything about the three amigos there today. Just giving you your little update, though.
Well, I mean, I think he had 5 points after 4 games too. So
no, we didn't have 5 points after 4 games. I know he had. I know the last 2 games he's been held the score sheet. Again, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers forward group. Yikes! It's hard to look at. For those people who are watching the Bridgeport Sound Tiger games and are doing it there for reasons like, hey, I enjoy the club. I enjoy the Islanders, so I want to get everything on Islanders action I can. So I watch the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. I'm going to tell you one thing. I need to give you a clap and a pat on the back because those games are hard to watch. I mean, the forward lineup that we roll out there is yikes bad too.
They don't believe in offense down in Bridgeport either, so they fit in with the Islander organizational needs. I mean, you're saying their forward group is terrible. I guess Simon just fits right in.
Oh, goodness gracious. David C. wants to know, Grump, everything charged fully tonight. I had to make sure. I said, make sure you got your charger here pulled up for tonight. We don't want to have any cattywampus, so you're going to be running back and forth there in positions.
See, I got my charging cord plugged in. I was running a little bit late the other day. As I think everyone remembers, I was really late working that night, and I just didn't have time to get everything set up because TJ's a freaking taskmaster. You better be ready. Yeah. We're a podcast. You know what time it starts. You gotta be ready.
Is that how I speak? Really?
You sound worse than that, actually.
Wow.
I'm trying to keep it calm for you.
Oh, sure. I didn't know I had that type of dialect, but I'm glad you've informed me here. Sal P wants to say we had to figure it would be tough to come by tonight after scoring 8 goals against the Capitals. Glad we pulled out the win after blowing a 2-goal lead. Sorokin was great. Is Nelson ever going to wake up? Nelson did have a good play back checking to go ahead and break up that goal. I'll tell you one thing. He did have a good defensive play there in that capacity. I mean,
you're 100% correct, and I had that written down about my book. And everyone knows, not a super Brock Nelson fan, but without a doubt, they were on the power play, and it was a bad turnover. But his hustle prevented a breakaway scoring a chance. So kudos to Brock Nelson. I don't think he's played well this year at all. Certainly not 5-on-5. I mean, I have a question to ask about everyone who watched the Islanders game against the Capitals on Thursday. Was that game not fun to watch? I mean, I just enjoyed – you just see the goals going left and right, and it's nice to see that every once in a while. I'm not saying you can live like that all the time, but, boy, it was nice to see us put up an 8 spot. It really was.
I love fire engine style of hockey. I really do. I know it's not what the Islanders play, It's not something that we will be accustomed to anytime soon on our Bearing Shots, and that's okay. I accept it. But if you're talking about just the enjoyment and the pure fun of watching like a hockey game, I feel like there's nothing more enjoyable for like a casual spectator than it just to go up and down the ice all night where it's scoring opportunity after scoring opportunity. That's why I feel like even though, again, there's not a lot of defense done on the Edmonton side, it's fun to watch the Edmonton Oilers. They score a boatload of goals. And I know people say, oh, that's just you not appreciating the defensive side of the game. No, I understand. I'm just saying it's nice to kind of change pace a little bit. For example, if we were the Edmonton Oilers, I'd say, man, oh man, I'd love to watch a little more defense every once in a while. But, being an Islander fan here, we get starved a little bit from that fire engine style of hockey. And it's nice to see that every once in a while. It was so fun to watch that game against the Capitals. No matter what, I could watch 3 or 4 games exactly like that, especially when the Islanders are pummeling the Capitals. Ooh, sign me up.
When I ask a question, I just want a yes or no answer. Isn't it great to watch a game like that? You just could have said yes. You need
Sorry.
I know you like to hear yourself talk, but that was not necessary.
Oh, thank you, Grump. Patrick V here is saying, Grumpy, I just read Bailey's contract, and it indicates that he's getting paid approximately $5 million a year. It says nothing that he needs to shoot the puck. He's getting paid to be a pretty boy. Oh, goodness, Patrick V. No.
Well, I'll tell you what. Then he's learning. I don't even consider pretty boy. I don't even know. You know what? It reminds me of that Youngblood movie where him and Racky went at it. Said, "Hey, pretty boy," and Racky knocked his teeth out, or whatever it was. And then at the end, talk about suspending disbelief. You have Youngblood played by who the heck was the kid who played Youngblood at that time? Rob Lowe. I think it was Rob Lowe. Winds up knocking out Racky, knocking his teeth out. The guy's like 6'2", 200, and Rob Lowe's like 5'10", 130, and he knocks him out because his dad taught him how to fight in a barn in one night with the gloves on. Like, the kid's a natural fighter now. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you never know. Sometimes it just takes up easy to people. Jerry Springer has a question. Who would win in a fight there, Matt Martin or Tom Wilson?
Wilson would absolutely annihilate him. Now, years ago, when Matt Martin was in his prime and Tom Wilson was in middle school, probably Matt Martin.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Even if they're both fighting in their primes, where Matt Martin was fighting, in his prime, Tom Wilson now, I think Matt Martin would have pummeled him. I mean, Matt Martin, even though he's not a guy that has the rep anymore, and because he's older, right? He's still wily out there. And I know this is his first fight of the season was against Zdeno Chara. I mean, Chara's older, but man, oh man, he's no easy task. How many people do you see signing up there to fight Zdeno Chara out there on the ice currently?
He didn't hit him with anything. I mean, just because he danced around with them for a couple of times and they fell down. I mean, the question was, who would win in a fight, Matt Martin or Tom Wilson? It's Tom Wilson.
I get it. I'm just saying hockey fights are not so much about, throwing punches always. It's a lot about positioning. And Zdeno Chara being 6'9", also having that unbelievable reach. I mean, he's able to keep Matt Martin there at bay. If he was able to get a punch on him at all, I'd say, wow, man, Zdeno Chara is slipping. I mean, so, anything was a plus there for Matt Martin in that situation.
Zdeno Chara is 43 years old. It's like saying, hey, let's go out there and fight, I don't know. Well, Gordie Howe's dead, so I won't bring him up. Let's go out there and fight Mark Messier. He's probably 60 now. Hey, he could beat it. He didn't knock him down. I mean, I'm just sorry. It was Tom Wilson or Matt Martin. Tom Wilson's a better fighter.
I love this.
Now, Tom Wilson's a better fighter.
I love this. I read Jerry's comment, and I'm reading through it, and then he asked me a follow-up question. He says, then ask him who's going to win a bare-knuckle fist fight between Jerry Springer and Maury Povich.
Maury Povich.
Maury Povich. And he says, at the end, you can give answers to these as well. Well, Jerry, I'm going to let you know something. I'm going to give answers whether you like it or not. I'm going to go ahead and give some answers to it.
I think
I've been given the clearance, though, by Jerry to answer these questions.
I think Maury would beat Jerry Springer's ass. I think Maury's tough. He's wiry, and I just don't think Jerry's a fighter.
I can't say this ever crossed my mind there as to who would win in a fight, right?
I think Steve would come out and kick both their asses. Steve Harvey, right, DJ?
I could tell you that Steve, who used to be the old bodyguard there on that show, would absolutely. I'm gonna pull up some pictures here. So you've got these, Grump, here. So I mean, this is a very, very scientific way we're gonna break this down between who would win there in a fist fight, a bare knuckle fist fight. Maury is 82 years old.
Now, how old do you think Jerry Springer is? It's got to be in his 70s.
I didn't know Murray was 82 years old.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
I didn't know how old he was either.
I mean, Jerry Springer, grumpy old man.
He's got to be.
He's 77.
Yeah, so he's pretty much up there too. I don't think the 5-year age difference does much for it. I mean, the whole thing. I will say that Jerry would, as soon as I heard the ding ding, I think Jerry would come out scrapping because he knows what the ding ding means.
Jerry Springer. So we've got here a little image of him. I mean, body frame, they're relatively frail. But I mean, look at those luscious locks at the age of 77. Still got a full head of hair. I won't be as fortunate as that happens when I get to that age. But man, oh man, look at the hair. And then we go to Murray, right? 82 years old, Grump. Oh, look at the hair. Look at these locks. What are they doing? What do I need to do?
Maybe they've been getting hair implants.
Nah, just joking around, obviously, of course. I don't know who would win. Maybe Jerry Springer.
I think Maury's in better shape. I think Jerry's a little bit soft in the middle. I think that Maury's a little bit more lean. So I give him the edge.
Okay, so now you're switching. Now that you got a chance there to look a little bit closer there.
I said Maury Povich right from the get-go.
No, what are you talking about? You told me Jerry Springer was going to win there in a fight. Come on now.
I most certainly did not.
You're flip-flopping. I'm glad we've got –
I said he might get the edge because the only edge he would have is because he'd know as soon as the ding-ding, that meant you go out there and fight. I did say that. But I think I picked Maury Povich. That was my choice right from the get-go.
Frank Hayes says Islanders are looking at Bobby Ryan, and he says, "I'm not joking. I read that. And I was told that there today." Oh man, Bobby Ryan. Well, could you imagine Bobby Ryan out there on the ice for the Islanders in a top 6 role?
He fits the standing in front of the net role, just like Anders Lee does. What would you have to give? What would you have to give up for Bobby Ryan? I mean, that's what it is. Is Bobby Ryan the player he was 5 years ago? No. But would I give up a 3rd-round pick for a Bobby Ryan? Yeah, I would. I would do that. But I'm not giving up a 1st-round pick for Bobby Ryan. I mean,
I don't think you'd have to. I don't think you'd have to give up a 1st-round pick either for a guy like Bobby Ryan at this advanced stage of his career, tied to a 1-year contract. No.
But he fits the mold. He doesn't skate well. He's old, and he can stand in front of the net. So, I mean, that's like Anders Lee, right? That's like the $6 million man, right?
Matthew S. tuned in. He says, "Sorry for being late there. Are too much and well. One can figure out the rest. Sorokin is a beast." Sorokin played well.
I think he made a couple of good saves. I don't think he was super tested though today. I think I've seen him play better than today. But you know what? Sometimes you don't have to be, making spectacular saves. Particularly with the style that we play. But like I said earlier, I feel that he's really close to being just as good as Varlamov now. I think Varlamov's game has dropped and his is elevated. So
Varlamov was red hot. And by the way, that says ate too much and too well. And you can figure out the rest. Took a little food nap. I'm guilty of that quite a few times myself there, Matt. Yeah. You talk about the drop-off there. I mean, he was unbelievably hot at the beginning of the season. It's all about making sure he gets rest and he's ready to go for the playoffs because I think there's no way that, game 1 of, the first playoff series the Islanders have, I think no matter what the situation looks like, I think Varlamov gets to start unless he's injured. I really think that's a foregone conclusion. Varlamov will start off the series just because, again, he's a veteran. He's been there. He's done that.
Yes, without a doubt.
And then David C. also says, Grump and TJ, would you give up one of the 2nd-round picks we got from Colorado for Foligno? I like the fit.
He's another guy who fits the mold. Does he want to move from Columbus, though? He's a team captain. I think we don't take that into account. I mean, would I want to move a 2nd-round pick for a guy who's 36 years old? Boy, we did that last year. It worked for a few weeks. How's it look this year? So I don't know. I just don't want to give away high draft picks of any way, shape, or form. We just don't have enough talent we can afford to do that right now.
I'll say that trade worked out. I mean, the trade purpose was really just to go ahead and get a rental. The Islanders didn't have to sign him back, and I thought he played extremely well with Noah Dobson and looked good during that playoff time period during the bubble. So again, like I think that trade worked out for certain. Cliff Neal here saying Bellows really should have been on the top line until they got a top line winger to replace Lee. They throw him in the third line there with Nelson and Bailey. Oh, I'm thinking on the second line. Oh, never mind. Throw him on the third line with Nelson and Bailey. It's time for Pajot and Wallstrom-Beauvillier to be the second line.
Okay, here I go again. I'm going to say something that people aren't going to believe. He wants them as a second line, Nelson and Bailey, even though I don't think they've been as good as they were last year. They're really good going up against the other team's top line because they do play a smart game. I like most scoring, particularly 5-on-5 with your second line, but we're not getting that. But for the most part, they're pretty solid out there going against the other team's top lines. So that, and he's not gonna break them up, and they're going to continue to do that. So that's not going to happen. Beauvillier, I mean, that was a great line. I don't know why he broke it up, but he did. And that's one thing that Barry does that kind of I don't understand. When he sees something that's working and nothing else is working, he breaks up something that's working, which means that now, because that third line's not doing anything now, right? With Ross Johnson in there. When was the last time they did anything, Pajot and Wallstrom? They don't have any.
Well, they had a few chances. They weren't able to execute there, but they've had a few chances.
Yeah, but they're certainly not. They're not going like they were when Beauvillier was on that line.
Yeah, Beauvillier was helping drive that line, and so was Pajot. Again, Pajot is somewhat streaky. Pajot's had an unbelievable season. I did not know until I had a chance to actually look at the stats of how well Jean-Gabriel Pajot was doing this season, Grump. Do you have any idea off the top of your head what the numbers look like so far there for Jean-Gabriel Pajot this year?
He's got to have upwards of 25 points, no?
I'm pulling them here for us, Grump.
So
I think
you're going to ask a question like that. You got to be prepared. You can't. I mean, here's the thing. I didn't look, but I'm just guessing that he's probably close to 25 points. I mean, he's played extremely well. I don't think he's streaky. I mean, I know he went on the goal scoring streak, yes, but I don't. I mean, he gives you something really consistent every night, defensively. Power play, penalty, he can do anything out there.
As a guy who's a third-line center on our team, in 36 games, got 23 points, 11 goals, and 12 assists. I mean, if you're talking there from a third-line center throughout an entire 82-game season, what are you looking at there, Grump? You're looking at a goal, 2 goals or 2 points every 3 games.
It's pretty good.
Not bad at all.
The greatest number 44 in New York sports history since Reggie Jackson.
Oh, goodness gracious. You managed to get it in. You managed to get it in, as always, grumpy old man. Have some more comments here. Frank K saying the Islanders are looking at Taylor Hall, Kyle Palmieri, Bobby Ryan, Connor Garland, and one other guy, not sure who. I wouldn't mind Connor Garland. Again, a guy who's going to be a restricted free agent, a guy who's 25 years old. That's a guy who can continue to grow around this young nucleus that we have there on the Islanders. And he's one of those long-term possible solutions that we have and towards building into a further Stanley Cup competitor. So I don't mind that at all. Taylor Hall, Kyle Palmieri, Bobby Ryan. Obviously, those guys are more rental pieces.
Okay, you're looking at Bobby Ryan's probably going to be the cheapest. So he's an option. Garland is going to be the second least expensive, I feel.
What? You think he's going to be less expensive than Kyle Palmieri?
Everyone's saying Kyle Palmieri is a first-round pick and plus, right?
You don't think Connor Garland's going to be that?
I don't know. I don't think so. He's not had a great career. I mean, he's playing well this year. But here's the thing. Would I trade my first-round pick for Connor Garland? Yes, I would, because he's young and he's somebody who can be with the team long-term. He'd probably be my number one guy, honestly.
So that's why I think he's going to demand more, right? For a guy who's going to be a restricted free agent. So you're going to have some sort of, long-term certainty over him through that capacity. He's a guy, again, this is a career, what is relatively a career season there for him. There are 36 games, 10 goals, 17 assists, 27 points there for the Arizona Coyotes, a +3, and a guy, who could make that next step into maybe a top 6 role there in the future there for or be a top 6 there, even with Andersley back there for the Islanders. Tell me that wouldn't be nice. Yeah, to have him in a top 6 role there, gel in there with the Islanders, and have that reunite the greatest third line in NHL right now with Anthony Beauvillier,
Okay.
Oliver Wahlstrom, and Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
You see how you're coming away to my way of thinking? I spoke about that 6-8 weeks ago. The very same thing. I only want a guy who can plug in. And what happens? Let's say Connor Garland clicks with Mat Barzal and Jordan Eberle. What does that mean? Then you can drop Anders Lee down to where he's better. Honestly, I think the chemistry that Lee, Bailey, and Nelson have shown over time is really, really good. And I think they'd make a good second line. And then you could have your third line the way it is, and then your fourth line. I think it makes us much better. I just, like I said, Garland's the guy, if he's truly available and we have an option, I'm willing to give up a first for him. I'm not willing to give up a first for any of those other guys, though. So
I'm afraid it's going to come with the territory. David C. wants to say, is Trotz in the Jack Adams again, in running for the Jack Adams again this season?
I don't think he might be in the running, but it's got to go to Quenneville, doesn't it?
I was about to say, I think he'll be in the running, but Quenneville, I think definitely right now is the favorite. If he is able to keep stride after losing Aaron Ekblad, and he's able to finish there again, right now they're tied or very, very close to the point production. I think they're tied right now at the time of the podcast with the point production of the season with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, the Tampa Bay Lightning do have a game in hand over the Florida Panthers, but I think they have excelled all expectations. They've excelled past all expectations so far this season.
And then you look at Brindamore, right, with Carolina. He's done great too. I mean, Vegas is playing really, really well. But I think it's probably at this point in time, it has to be
Joe Quenneville.
Joe Quenneville's job, Adams Trophy to lose.
Jack Adams, yeah, for certain here. And Brett is saying here, so far, Matt Martin is earning his money. I'll say that too. I think Matt Martin has earned his money for this season, no doubt about it. Grump, as much as you make fun of the $6 million man, he's earned his cash this year.
Right. And why do I say the $6 million man? Because it's a 4-year deal for a 32-year-old fourth wing grinder. That's why, which is too much. And I think everyone knows that. But he's played well, certainly in the last week or so. He certainly has played well. Like I said, the fourth line's up and down. Sometimes they play well, sometimes they don't. But he's been really good on the power play. Nice fit there.
Got another comment here from Brian J. saying, how many more years does Lou Lamoriello have left? He's getting up there in age. Yeah, he's 78 years old at the moment. So again, not getting younger anytime soon. 78 years old. I mean, do you expect him to continue to be the general manager into his 80s? I
think, you know what? He's lucid. I mean, a lot of people when they get older, they kind of lose it mentally. I don't think he has. I mean, I might tease him sometimes and say he has. But realistically, I don't think he has. You listen to him speak. He's still got, he doesn't have an old person voice or anything like that. I think he still knows what he's doing. I just wish that I wish he wouldn't have so much faith in this group because I don't think the group is good enough to go all the way.
I mean, they made a stab at it where they were pretty damn close last year, which I think just further validates the thought process that, yeah, this team can make that next step. I mean, let's be honest, though. If you're a coach of a team where you bring yourself to where, hey, we took the best team in the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning there, 6 games further than any other team did in that year in the playoffs. I mean, you have to feel like, you've got a chance. You've got a chance to win a Stanley Cup, no? I'm talking about from Barry Trotz's point of view. Well, and I'm talking about from the Islanders organization's point of view.
Okay, you can say that, but that doesn't make it true because no one's beating Tampa. Tampa's a juggernaut right now.
So all is lost. Just go ahead and pack in the bags here as Tampa's around until Tampa starts to falter. Then we can go ahead and make a chance here at the Stanley Cup.
What I'm saying is this current group of players who are on the older side, by the time Tampa isn't as good anymore, they're going to be well past their prime. So I would rather slowly transition out of that now and try to get younger. So when Tampa does go into their inevitable decline, you'd be ready. Those younger players would be ready to step in and already part of the organization and ready to go.
Alexander also said he meant to ask the question, if you had a chance to interview Josh Bailey, what questions would you ask?
Josh, do you think you have a chance to be the captain on the Kraken team when you get drafted in the expansion draft there?
Oh goodness gracious! I'll tell you, if we were to lose him in the expansion draft, I promise you, we'll get you a Seattle Kraken jersey with Josh Bailey on it. So you
I
can
would
go ahead
wear,
and wear that. You can wear
I
that
would
on the
wear that.
podcast.
I would absolutely wear that.
Oh goodness! Clifney also says, "Amen to the onion texture comment." And the Wicked 50 Cal is saying, a YouTube comment says here, "Isn't Leo from Finland or Estonia or something like that? He was born there in Estonia." Yeah, grumpy old man just keeps calling it Russia just because he does, and I think it's easy. He keeps just doing it. Oh wow, I forgot that game was on. Wow, David C says Gonzaga just hit a buzzer beater in overtime to beat UCLA. Oh.
Wow.
Ends a little bit of the Cinderella run there by UCLA. I mean, an 11 seed there. And I mean, Gonzaga has rolled, never lost a game here this season. And they're going to be playing there in the finals against Baylor. Number 1 seed against 1 seed, right?
Yeah. I mean, Baylor absolutely rolled Houston today. I would have said Gonzaga all the way, but looking at this, maybe Baylor's got a chance on Monday night.
Ross N here says, if Islanders fans so probably just wreck it, the Islanders make the playoffs, what is the best first round matchup? Gotta be the Boston Bruins, right?
Yep, I would say so.
The funniest thing is, even at the very beginning of the season, after we played the Bruins only once, you were saying you wanted to play the Boston Bruins in the playoffs. I was like, you're crazy, Grumpy. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, the Boston Bruins? Why do you want to play the Boston Bruins?
Because they're a one-line team. That's why I want to play the Boston Bruins. They play a style similar to us, but they're a one-line team, and their one line is getting older. That's why. I mean, I think they're not super aggressive on the forecheck, and they don't have the offensive talent. So that's a team we can handle. I think teams that have really good forecheck and have offensive ability are going to give us trouble. That's why Pittsburgh's given us problems all year, and Washington, regardless of the verdict Thursday night. Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say, I do not. If I could avoid Pittsburgh and Washington, I would like to do so. Playing any team like Boston, I mean, the Flyers, Philadelphia is hideous. I don't think they really have any chance. I know, like the Rangers, hey, maybe they're like making a late season push. Those teams I don't mind. If I could avoid, I would want to avoid Washington and Pittsburgh. I know you're going to have to play them at one point in time or the other, but I think Boston would be a good matchup, be favorable there for us.
Yeah, I look at the teams, what they have left to play. Pittsburgh has the easiest schedule going the rest of the way. They have a lot of games against Jersey and Buffalo, where I think we have one or two games against Buffalo, and I think we have the toughest one. We have to play Washington a lot, which is a difficult matchup for us, regardless of Thursday.
I'm moving right along here. Another comment there from Jerry Springer here saying, who would win in a fight there, Steve Wilkos or Elliot Stabler from Law and Order SVU? I guess we're turning into a betting odds of who would win in fights between celebrities. I can't even tell you I know who Elliot Stabler is. I've never watched Law and Order SVU.
It's Chris. I think his last name is Leone. He was in Oz also, an underrated TV show on HBO back in the day. I would still say that it would be Steve Wilkos, because he's an actual bodyguard who can throw punches where the other guy's just an actor.
How old is Steve Wilkos? He's 57 years old now, Grump.
Okay, look up.
Elliot Stabler. You mean look up Elliot Stabler?
Who's on one of the Law and Order series. Matter of fact, there's a new one.
He's 60. He's 60 years old now. Okay, wow. So again, I don't watch that. He didn't look 60 in the pictures I was looking at. Maybe he's just got that young, youthful look about him. So you're thinking Steve Wilkos would win there in a fight?
Absolutely. I'm going to bet he probably got 4 or 5 inches and 50 pounds on him too. He'd knock him out. Knockout. KO. Not a 2 KO. Count him out. Bing, 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 ding, 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 ding. Over.
Okay, fair enough. You think a first round knockout?
He's actually a fighter. He's fought before. He's a bouncer, whatever the heck he is.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And I think he was also in the armed forces as well there. I'm looking at some old pictures there of Steve Wilkos. So again, maybe he's got that tough about him. Who knows? But grumpy old man thinks that Steve Wilkos would win there in a fight. Brian J saying that Kyle Palmieri will be an Islander. Mark it down.
Chris Melione, that's his name. It's Chris Melione.
Yeah, it is Chris. It is Chris. I'm shocked that you knew his name, to be quite frank, because
I remember him from Oz. He was he played a rough and tumble guy, and it's so long since I watched. I remember Adebisi from Oz. He was a black guy, and he wore this little beanie on his head, like kind of a little off center. I don't know how he got it to stick on his head. Actually, I don't know how he did it.
Brian
Good show.
is saying
Underrated show.
Cal Palmieri is going to be an Islander. Mark it down.
It wouldn't surprise me. He's not the guy I want the least, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Lou doesn't listen to me. He doesn't want to be a winner.
Well, he calls you up occasionally there on the landline, no?
Yeah, he does, but he just he's.
Who else is he calling? Is he getting information from other people and he's just trying to weigh in occasionally? Because Lou Lamoriello used to give you calls quite frequently here on the show, and again, like the phone's been dry relatively. I'm not sure if it's the times that we're podcasting and live streaming, but I think Lou might be tapping into other resources.
I said, I already told you what I want you to do. Let's make it happen. Make those calls to the other people. You don't need to know what I want. You already know what I want.
Oh, good. And then Robert W. there is saying, I think the other guy that the Islanders might be looking at is Dustin Brown. How much tread do you think Dustin Brown has left on the tires?
You know what? I know he's playing well this year, but he's never been a great – again, I guess he fits the mold. Leadership type, good in front of the net, and he is a good leader, FYI. For certain he is. Not a great skater, but, plays a two-way game to the best of his ability. But, gosh, I think he's 36 or 37 years old.
36 years old there for the Los Angeles Kings. He's 36 years old. Man, oh, man. Dustin Brown. He's gotten up there in age. Wow. It's almost like I can remember. I can flip it back to yesteryear when the Los Angeles Kings were an unbelievable powerhouse in the NHL.
Yeah,
how things have changed.
They were really good back in the day. You had Jonathan Quick in net, and they were just a really well put together team. Played a real team style.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, you talk about a rebuild and a revamp they've got going on with Turcotte and guys like Cali. You have to feel pretty confident there with the Kings going forward for certain. John P. there is saying, if we don't make a trade for a left wing, what would be Lou and Barry's comments if we're out, God forbid, in the first round of the playoffs with Leo Komarov there at first line left wing? What do you think their comments would be if we got knocked out in the first round after not making a trade at the trade deadline?
Well, Anders Lee was a tough loss for us, and if we get him back, I feel we're right back in the mix. That's the line of crap that they'll give us.
They're going to say, oh, it was unfortunate we lost Anders Lee. It was a huge loss to the team and the organization. Going forward, we'll have him out there on the ice. We're excited to see him play. People underrated him, and we really saw after we lost Anders Lee what a big loss that was to this team and this franchise. And going forward, he's going to be a bedrock of the team. Something like that. It's just coach talk, GM talk.
Yeah, they'll blame it on that loss. And to me, honestly, do you think that we're playing really poorly without Anders Lee in there? No.
The crazy thing is, think about this. A guy who is a consistent healthy scratch would never touch your lineup before Anders Lee got injured, or very rarely touched your lineup before Anders Lee got injured, has filled in on the first line. And it's obviously harmed the first line a little bit. We'd be ignorant not to say it didn't, but it really hasn't. It's not like our team has been sunk.
It's because the first line is totally reliant on Mat Barzal. Everyone else just orbits. They're just the little satellites that orbit around Mat Barzal. That's what they are. He drives that line. Anthony Beauvillier, he goes down to the third line, right? I mean, how many of these guys have I said to you all year long for years? I've been saying we have a couple of guys on this whole team that are able to drive play. Anthony Beauvillier, for as streaky as he is, what happens? He wasn't doing anything with the second line to begin the year, right? So the second line did what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He gets injured. He comes back. He's on the third line, right? After he gets, his skating legs back. All of a sudden, the third line takes off. So then what happens? Okay, let's move him back to the second line. All of a sudden, he's on the second line, and they start playing a little bit better. He's a driver of the play. We only have two of them on the whole team. Because as much as I think Oliver Wahlstrom maybe could be one, and Pajot can be, but I think that they put him in too many other spots where it's just like, okay, JG, this is what I want you to do. Just drive this line. They spread him so thin that I think it's real difficult for him to do that.
I was about to say, I think Jean-Gabriel Pageau can definitely drive lines. He's definitely one of those impetus type of pieces. So I definitely think apt point there, Grump. We have another comment here. Frank K saying, you guys should do a whole show with long hair wigs. I'll tell you, I'd be sweating if I was wearing a wig. I mean, like, it's not, you know what? Maybe we'll do one of those for Halloween or something like that. I don't know. That would be like a funny little gag there. We could dress up as certain members for Halloween. I think that could be funny. Matthew S. wants to know, what do you do in your day job, Grump? I don't know if you mentioned it before.
I'm a data analyst.
Ooh, fancy, grumpy old man. Brian J. saying, I think there should have more celebrities fighting each other bare knuckle.
I 100% agree. You can tell who, it's funny. If you ever look at some of the movies and, you see action heroes, who can run. That's the biggest thing you tell somebody's an athlete. Like, all right, Tom Cruise, he's got the best freaking movie run I think I've ever seen. Every single movie he's in, you see him running. Why? Because he looks great running. And you look at other people.
Because he's small. Of course he looks good. He's small, compact, and he's somewhat athletic. He is crazy son of a gun, though.
But he's got a great stride, right? He's got a great stride. You look at, how you can tell somebody isn't an athlete and can't run in the movies? Because if they do have a running scene, they do a close-up on their face. And they show them running like this. Because you don't actually see how they're running. It means they can't run. Because if you can, they're going to show you the whole thing. Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, right? Did they go? No, man, you saw the whole thing. He was out there galloping.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sylvester Stallone's an athlete.
That's what I'm saying. He's athletic as an actor. He's not a freaking athlete. He's a freaking movie star who was in boxing films. He's not an athlete, okay? But for an actor, he's athletic. I mean, Tom Cruise, like I said, athletic. Al Pacino, you ever see him in the movie Heat when he's running? It's like he's on a treadmill or something, running around a track. Or I mean, no, he can't do it. I love that, but he's just not an athlete.
I'm glad we got your analysis there on running actors, Grump. You get everything on this Islanders Never Say Die podcast. Not only Islanders talk, hockey talk, as well as all over the place, Grump here. Brian B. saying, gotta hit the bunk, guys. Great show as always. Stay safe. Who needs a trade? Not us. Leo's playing great. With a laughy face there.
There you go.
Brett, Let's Go Islanders says, was anybody surprised to see Ross get rocked? I was a little shocked. I mean, I will say that's probably the first time he has lost or had a real contested. I mean, like, I think probably he lost that fight. But I mean, it was contested all the way through, but he didn't dominate. I mean, I've never seen him lose an NHL fight. That was maybe the first one.
Okay, your love for Ross Johnson is showing right here. Here's the thing. I love Ross Johnson too, but you said he probably lost that fight. When you get hit with the punch and get knocked down, you lost that fight. Okay, he
got right back up and started slamming more and right in the face too. Come on now. Occasionally it happens in boxing. I've been watching a whole bunch of street fighting recently. Hey, sometimes you get shocked, but you come back up and you can still win the fight. Come on now.
He got knocked down and didn't win the fight because that was the end of the fight. They went in and stopped it after that. But yes, I was shocked. And the first thing I thought was, I wonder if he's going to be like Ronda Rousey or Conor McDavid when they get beat for that first time, that air of invincibility is off. And now you're going to see people starting to challenge him.
No freaking way. Again, Ross Johnson's still a towering individual. I mean, Morin's a huge guy too.
I'm just saying. I just wonder. That's all. I didn't say it was going to happen. I just wondered.
John P. Speaking of fights, saying, I mentioned this prior, but a great tussle with Clark Jethro Gillies kicking Tiger Williams' ass and breaking his jaw, I believe was in 1978.
Man, Clark Gillies was a great fighter. Tiger Williams was a good fighter too, but he reminded me of one of those little yappy dogs, rah, 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 rah. And he needed to be put down. It's like you had a Pitbull just kind of went in there and just chewed the hell out of him and said, see you later, Tiger. Tiger Williams, yeah.
Frank K says Sorokin made that Hasek-like save on his belly. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, holy crap. He was all over the place, but he made that spectacular save. You don't really see goalies making saves like that on their stomach or like sprawling all out anymore in today's game. But I mean, I guess that was a little Hasek-esque.
He also did one of those full split saves tonight. Like I said, I didn't think he was super tested, but he came up with a couple of really big saves. He really did. The kid, I tell you, he's impressed me a lot the last couple. I mean, I know he had the rough outing the other day, which I thought was more to the a thing of the defense as opposed to him. But I think that he's really starting to show me some stuff.
And then Frank, I also say Pajot is a joy to watch. He's a pest defensively. For certain, he is. He's one of those guys that has to just get under your skin and just pisses you off if you're playing against him. For certain. And he can also add a little bit of offensive pop to the team, too. A little bit of the deadly duo.
Now, for those who haven't been listening to the podcast long term, who was in favor of the J.G. Pajot trade, TJ?
You were.
Who was against the trade, TJ?
I was not a fan of the amount we gave up for a third-line center. That's correct.
Okay, the question was you were against the trade. They're very simple. My questions are very simple. I don't need you to go. Once again, I ask very specific. Who was for the trade? Me. Who was against the trade? You. That's how it worked. That's all you need to say. You don't need to say anything else. I was right. You were wrong. Thank you. Move on.
Oh, goodness gracious. There, Tom White saying Garland will fetch a high price. I think that too. You said he might be the second cheapest on the list. I'm telling you, Connor Garland's going to fetch a price because he's young like that, and he's also got that term certainty. So, again, he's going to fetch a high price. And, again, you can lowball him because he's going to be a restricted free agent. So you're going to have, possibly a smaller contract with the cap staying flat relatively for the next 2 seasons. So, again, I think Connor Garland's going to go ahead and get a higher price than you think, Grump.
Well, we'll see. But that's the type of guy I want, though. I'm willing to pay a little bit more for a guy who we can keep for a while. I mean, rentals, I don't want to give a whole lot up for, but for somebody who's a young piece that we can incorporate into the team long term, I'm all for that.
Joe Fitzpatrick saying, come on, guys, call it what it is. At the end of the Islanders-Capitals game, it was a shit show. Something had to give, and before the final faceoff, Johnston and Hathaway both got thrown off the ice, so Martin accommodated Chara, who had to step up for his team that just got routed.
I'm going to tell you what, that was unfair that they threw Johnston and Hathaway off. They didn't do anything. I realized why they did it, but I didn't like that at all. And he's 100% right. Martin accommodated Chara, who stepped for his team that was getting beat, and nothing really happened there. And I know why Chara's a team guy all the way. I mean, my gosh, talk about bad trades. Ugh.
He's a pro's pro, and man, oh man, I don't think there ever will be a defenseman like Zdeno Chara ever again. I really don't. I don't think there'll ever be a guy who's 6 foot, 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", who skates the way he does. I mean, Zdeno Chara was one of a kind.
He's never been a great skater. I think Hedman is pretty big, and he's a really good skater. So, I think he's better offensive player. Chara's reach is what separates him. It really is. He's able to make plays, even though he's not he was never the greatest skater. He was certainly more than average, but I don't mean Anders Lee. I mean just a better than average skater, but he was never a great skater, but it was his reach and his positioning just really good. And the sad thing is we kind of developed all those things here and then moved them out. Kind of like Devon Taves.
Oh, stop. Well, Jerry Springer has one. He actually gave me 2 more fight questions. I'm only going to ask one of them because I think it seems kind of funny. This is the last one. Who do you think would win in a fight, Barry Trotz or John Tortorella? It's got to be John Tortorella, right? Barry Trotz looks mean. He gets that mean look where he's like a scrapper, right? But John Tortorella, maybe he's fiery. I don't know. That's a tough one, right? John Tortorella, no?
Well, you got to remember, Barry's built kind of like an armadillo. So he could just kind of roll up and take some blows and then spring out and do something. But
so you're going to say he's going to be able to like hunch his shoulders a little bit, absorb some blows, and then he could really start getting in on Tortorella's inside, get some body shots, maybe hit him with an upper jab right there to the chops. Is that what we're saying here, Grump?
Aren't his shoulders always kind of hunched?
That's why I said he's got that natural hunch, so he's able to go ahead and absorb some blows.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, Tortorella, he's kind of scrappy. I guess I would go with Tortorella. I think he's bigger too. I think Barry's kind of short.
No, John Tortorella is only 5'8".
Really?
Yeah.
He gives the impression of being taller. I'll take Lane Lambert over both of them.
Barry Trotz actually has the height advantage. Barry Trotz is 5'9".
Okay.
I don't know. I honestly I thought Tortorella was maybe a little bit taller too. Maybe he had to reach on it, but I guess not. I don't know. I mean, Barry, you feel like you mentioned maybe he's got those hunched shoulders. He could take a few blows. I don't know.
Yeah, but Torch is scrappy. I'm going to say he's really scrappy, Tortorella.
He's scrappy, but I'm telling you, Barry Trotz has got that mean streak. I feel like he's just mean. You see it like back in his younger days, too, how mean he looks down there on the bench there. I'll tell you one thing that's been been beneficial there with having the mask that Barry has to wear. You get to see how mean and pissed off he usually looks on the bench because, man, oh man, that sucker never looks happy out there on the ice. And again, like when he's wearing that mask, you can never see how angry he is. But he very rarely had a smile on his face. He just looks like an angry guy.
Yeah, but Tortorella, he's borderline freaking crazy. So, you don't see Barry get too worked up. But Tortorella's always kind of off the chain. You got to watch out for guys who are crazy and have nothing to lose. I think that's Tortorella.
Oh, fair enough. I'm telling you, you get everything here on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. Fair enough. Brett there says Oz was a great show.
Underrated.
Oh, Brian J is doing one better. He said, who would win in a fist fight, Grumpy or Barry Trotz?
I would certainly beat Barry Trotz.
It took you. What were you pondering about that, Grump? I feel like with your confidence and your bravado, that would have been an immediate answer. What went through your thought process there, buddy?
I just wanted to keep the people guessing a little bit. I'd outsmart them. That's what I would do.
Oh, goodness gracious. David C. wants to know, Grump, any chance you can get Tom Brady on the podcast? Ooh, I'll tell you, that would be a special member there of the podcast, even though he's not an Islander. I feel like that would be something people would listen to.
That would be a coup, but truth be told, probably not.
Oh, Frank K says only if Giselle can appear too.
You know what? Do you think Giselle is really pretty? I don't.
I don't know. I don't think supermodels are really that pretty. It's not my cup of tea. Like, I don't know. It's like I don't know. I'm a big guy. I crush little people. So okay. I'm big.
Everyone knows I'm a Tom Brady fan. But if you look at Giselle, like if you ever see her with Tom, she reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where, she's got man hands. And that's what I think about when I see Giselle. I'm sorry. She's got man hands.
Joe Fitzpatrick is also saying Bobby Ryan is currently out with an upper body injury. I heard he was supposed to be back here either the end of this weekend here or by the beginning of next week. I heard he was on the mend. He was ready to come back as of soon.
Well, would he be the answer? I mean, I wouldn't give up much to get him. That's all. Nothing more than a third.
Mark Wahlberg versus Tom Cruise.
They
have a beef.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I was about to say Wahlberg would.
Tom Cruise is athletic, but Mark Wahlberg is put together too. And he was in that boxing movie, The Fighter. And like he could throw some punches. I'm not saying Tom couldn't either, but he's quite a bit older than Mark Wahlberg.
I feel like Tom's got that pretty boy preppy style about him. I feel like Mark Wahlberg is not afraid to scrap it up. I mean, remember where Mark Wahlberg originally came from. So,
Tom Cruise is like 60 years old now. Can you believe it? He's like 60.
That's old. He's getting up there. David C. also says, why don't our beat writers ever ask Lou tough questions? Something like, you have been there for 3 years and haven't acquired a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman. Is that acceptable? I don't think we need to address the defenseman. Maybe, like, hey, you traded away a top 4 defenseman and you haven't addressed the need for a top 6 forward. Yeah, I'd understand that. But I think Barry and Lou have been always content with whoever was in a top 6 role. I really don't think they ever planned on changing much up.
It's all about the cartel. That's why they don't ask him tough questions. Here's the question, and that is a little bit different than David's question. I would say 3 years ago, after your first year, you said that we really needed to get some top line scoring on the team. We know it, and then we're going to do everything we can to get that. And 3 years later, you haven't done it. Why not? That would be my question. And then I just sit there and listen to them, and they probably cut off the video and the audio feed. The conference is over. We don't know what's going on here.
We've run through technical difficulties. We're going to have to ask there for the next, as we go ahead and get Barry and Lou's feedback up there, we're going to go ahead and have to ask there the next question to come in. Andrew Gross, what question do you have there for us? The Islanders had a great season this year. What do you expect there going forward there? I think we're really making good strides. What do you envision there for the Islanders? We envision them to win a Stanley Cup. I think we're making meaningful steps there. We have to address a few needs here or there. I mean, like, come on. That's easy. Otherwise, they get cut off, right? Come on. I understand it from their point of view, though. They get cut off. That's their livelihood.
Or they go to Powder Puff Radio and say, what's your question, Powder Puff? Lou, you cut quite the dapper figure up there in the box. I love your mask. And Barry, I just love the way you're like a jaguar behind the bench over there. I mean, how did you like that? I mean, was that good? Is that a style you have? And then they would give some ridiculous answer, and then he would say, "Well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I know they're hard hitting, but thank you."
Oh, goodness
And
gracious.
Lou, follow up. What's your favorite color?
Oh, goodness gracious. Vinny Smith, this is the long one. Tonight's Josh Bailey report. How did the great Josh Bailey do? Nothing. One shot on net, no goals, no assists, nothing. 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the power play, where he's now has one goal in the last 126 games. He's got one for the last 126 games with a power play goal. The NHL should follow the NFL and allow teams to defer the penalty. That is basically what the Islanders are doing when they wheel Josh on the ice for the power play. Why is this guy on the team night after night? Nothing. Almost 22 minutes of ice time tonight. Enough is enough. Oh, Vinny Smith is definitely not a fan there of Josh Bailey, always giving us the report there with a little bit of a negative light in tune there to it. Yeah, Josh Bailey's never going to be a guy who scores power play goals. Ever.
Okay, but is he wrong? That's the whole thing. Is he wrong? The answer is no. Those are valid questions. Maybe you should ask Barry. Barry, why do you continue to roll Josh Bailey out there on the power play when he will not shoot when he absolutely refuses to shoot the puck? Do you think it makes it easier for other teams to defend your power play when they know that Josh Bailey, one of the guys that will not pass? Do you see them all sloughing off and backing off when he has the puck? Because I certainly do. Do you not see that? Do you review videotape? Or do you just, Josh is smart, so we're going to keep on putting him out there?
No, they review videotape. The reason they keep Josh Bailey on the power play is because he does a good job of passing. He's got good vision. I mean, that's the reason why. They don't keep him on the line because he's going to shoot the puck and he's going to put it in the net. I mean, that's not why they keep him on the power play. He's got one goal in the last 126 games on the power play.
And he gets a lot of power tape play time. I mean,
think about how many power plays he's been on there with only one goal over that time period. I mean, that's got to be over 100 plus power play opportunities, right? I mean, maybe closer to over 200 plus power play opportunities, one goal.
For certain. I mean, here's the thing. You know what? I've said before, he and Letty pleasure themselves by passing the puck back and forth. It doesn't even bother me anymore. I'm just used to it. I mean, it's frustrating, but I'm used to it.
Got another comment here, and we're winding things down here right at about 2 hours. I know it is getting late. It's 12 o'clock on the East Coast there. Joe Fitzpatrick saying Dustin Brown's goal again tonight, number 15. LA is not out of it yet, but by no means. I'll be shocked if they trade him.
He's the captain too. I mean, I just don't think teams trade captains just willy-nilly. I just don't think they do.
Unless there's an ultimatum, then you could have value. But, then the guy says he doesn't want to move because he always wanted to be on Long Island. And then, I'm the captain. I didn't want to leave, blah, blah, blah. We've all done that song and dance. Frank K says, who wins in a fight, Capuano or Captain College Coach Quinn?
Again, it's an age thing. I don't know Johnny Rah-Rah's age, and I don't know Capuano's age either. But if all things are considered equal, I'd go with Capuano. He looks like a street fighter to me. He looks like Fred Flintstone, actually.
That was always the funniest part. What was that, Grump?
Yabba dabba doo.
That's what I was about to say. Jack Capuano definitely always looked like Flintstone for certain. Now, College Quinn, I always call him Dan Quinn. I know that's not his first name. What's College Quinn's first name, Grumpy?
Who cares? I don't care what his name is. Dave. I think it's Dave.
Fair enough there, Grumpy. I know this is random. This is John P. I know this is random, but Bossy without a bad back would have had 10 years, 573 goals. If he played as long as Gretzky, what do you think? Would he be the GOAT?
I don't think he was as good an overall. I don't think he was a goal. Mike Bossy was a goal scorer. Was he a better goal scorer than Wayne Gretzky? Yes. Without the bad back, would he have had more goals all time? I don't know. You got to remember the players that Gretzky played with for so long. I mean, that team was absolutely loaded. And the style they played, they were run and gun, right? Not the style under Al Arbor. I think Gretzky would have been better than Bossy, but Bossy would have had a lot more goals without that back injury. I think he could have played at least at a high level another five years. And then just think about it, right? You're talking about then upwards almost of 1,000 goals.
Think about how long it took Alexander Ovechkin to pass Mike Bossy's goal total. You know what I mean? And people marvel about, Alexander Ovechkin this, maybe possibly the best pure goal scorer of all time. You're like, yeah, come on now.
Well, here's the thing. And
game's changed. I understand.
The game has changed. The goaltending style has changed. Ovechkin would have scored more goals playing back then, without a doubt.
For sure.
Everybody was a stand-up goalie. That's not the case anymore. I'm not going to take anything away from Ovechkin. Bossy, you can just tell a goal scorer when you have one. And unfortunately, maybe we have one in Wahlstrom long-term, but Mike Bossy came on the scene right away and was just spectacular.
Did you say, unfortunately, we might have one in Oliver Wahlstrom?
I meant to say, unfortunately, we don't have one, and I thought about Wahlstrom could develop it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I gave you a chance to clarify there because I was confused. Speaking about, by the way, Johnny Rara, David Quinn, and Jack Capuano, both are 6'1". Both of them are 54 years old. I mean, Johnny Rara looks like he's in good shape. It looks like he's still hitting the gym. I'm not sure. Jack Capuano, he looks like he's got a little bit of that dad bod going on.
Well, I think that Cappy, he's a barroom brawler type. You got to watch out for guys like that. Probably, Quinn would be, Marcus Queensberry rules, with Capuano, I think he tried to get him down and dirty in the gutter. With Street Fighter, put him in a cage. I don't know.
Oh, goodness gracious. Brett also says here, last comment here, Grump. Who would you compare Mat Barzal to overall? Do you think at some point Wahlstrom will be a better player than Mat Barzal?
Wahlstrom will never be a better player than Mat Barzal. Mat Barzal is special. He reminds me a little bit of Dennis Savard, who used to play with Chicago and Montreal. But I'm telling you, and I've said it before, he is the most talented player to ever play in the Islander organization, talent-wise. He can do things that no one else who's been on our team has ever been able to do. And that's going all the way back.
I mean, he's the best skater. I think he's obviously the best skater the Islanders have ever had, for certain.
Yes. I mean, he's a tremendous passer. I think his shooting, if he had his druthers, he wouldn't shoot. He'd much rather pass, but he's got a really good shot too. I think the kid is really, really good. I just wish we had some better players for him to play with him.
Gotcha, Grump. Is there anything you wanted to say before we wrap things up today? Another 2-hour-long live stream podcast in the book, Grump.
Okay. I just want to say, so let's say for the next podcast, we're supposed to have unveilings of merchandise. We're supposed to have.
Whoa. Come on now. The merchandise won't be 100% done by next. I'm planning on when I roll out the merchandise, Grump, it's not going to be 1 or 2 items. I've got a few items in mind that I want to go ahead and roll out. It's not going to be like, hey, we're rolling out one shirt at a time. I've already got a few designs done. I'm just waiting. I got to go ahead and continue the last of the few designs, and I want to go ahead and get them updated here to the shop.
Okay. TJ did show me one of the designs he's looking at, and I didn't even understand it. It looked like a Picasso painting. I'm like, I mean, what does this even mean? I don't know. My wife had a suggestion. It should be like little cartoon characters, the grumpy old man. And then my son said it should be like with gorgeous girls around. And my wife says, well, they should be cartoon characters because they're make-believe also. So, I don't know. I just find that to be really real. I'd love that opportunity. So.
Oh, Grump, are you trying to tell me what you want there? If you go ahead and give me an idea, I could try to shape it around it. But you're asking what we should have there. We'll have the piece of equipment as long as it's not back ordered there from Amazon. That should be in there by Wednesday. Whether I will have the capabilities and knowledge of how to plug it in, immediately know how to use it. Again, it takes me a while. You usually got to read the instruction manual. But I'm expecting that will be here on Wednesday. The worst case scenario on Saturday, we'll be able to accept calls. But again, I've got some work I'm doing. Grump, I'm hard at work over here.
I'm not doubting it.
Gotcha, Grump. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap things up here for today's live stream and podcast?
Yeah, I just want to wish everyone a happy Easter, which is tomorrow, and have a great night. And thank you for listening.
All righty. Thank you so much, Grumpy Old Man, for being a part of the podcast and live stream. And again, thank you so much, everybody who listens and tunes in. Again, Grump and I love the fact that we get to interact there with everybody who listens there to the podcast. We do always appreciate it. And thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.
Happy Easter, ladies and gentlemen.